Loved by millions of grandmothers and hated by millions of nerds, The Big Bang Theory has lasted 12 seasons with well over 200 episodes. The story of what happens when the world of hotness collides with the world of Star Wars references has been nominated for several Emmys for Outstanding Comedy Series and has won Emmys for its lead actor, Jim Parsons, who plays Sheldon Cooper, the most popular fictitious robot since the one from Small Wonder. Have I seen a handful of episodes before? Of course. Did I like what I saw? But with the show finally coming to a graceful end, and Twitter can scream angrily about some other series, it's time to sit down and watch every single episode of The Big Bang Theory. What is it, like 270? 279, 280, 282, give or take a few episodes. I really should be getting my math right on this of all series. For all the talk of how the hell has this show lasted so long, from the pilot episode, I can see why this show got picked up. Okay, so it's about a hot blonde who makes friends with a group of socially awkward geeks. I've seen about 100 80s movies that could also fit in that category. The two leads, Johnny Galecki and Jim Parsons, have good chemistry with each other, and from this, I can see why they're friends. But like all sitcoms, characters certainly do evolve over time, and the Sheldon Cooper that I know from later episodes is not the one that's in this pilot. Here, he wants to earn extra money by going to a sperm bank and is called a masturbation expert. He flirts. He throws out some pretty good one-liners, knowing that they're jokes. I can even relate to him having a couch preference. Here, I feel like he's actually a person and not a robot built without feelings. Although with the plot being about Penny getting out of a bad relationship and then making friends with a group of misfits and them having to go get her TV back from her ex, it makes me want to watch this same exact scenario on New Girl. I know that this came out years before New Girl, but New Girl did it funnier. Well, it's kind of amazing Penny's still friends with him, considering that in this episode, Leonard and Sheldon break into her apartment to clean while she's asleep. Then again, Sheldon is still way more likable in these early episodes, as evidenced by the fact that in these, he can actually knock on someone's door without the other person wanting to call the police. I like here that his delivery is way less robotic and more just like a catty old woman. Having worked on the internet for a lot of years, there are things here that ring pretty true, such as their argument about whether or not Lois Lane could survive falling and then being caught by Superman. I like that Penny is the one to build the entertainment system, while the others are seriously overthinking the plans. There's some lazy shit, like grabbing a toy lightsaber because they think there's an intruder in the house, or Raj literally not being able to talk to women, but I'm not mad about it. Uh-oh, I see the tides turning because Sheldon here is asked whether or not he's a robot. Though he actually is still the voice of reason in this episode, Leonard is jealous that Penny has a date with someone else and he feels very, very rejected, and Sheldon is the one to set him straight on his misplaced anger. Personally, I think it would be hilarious if the guy that Penny was seeing was Paolo from Friends. And then Leonard vomits in her car. Wait a minute, in this episode, Laurie Metcalf plays Sheldon's mom, and in the previous episode, Sarah Gilbert was in it. I'm noticing a pattern here. Sheldon is going to say something racist, and the show will be renamed The Coopers. It would have been more obvious to use that joke with Leonard's character, but I'm not sure of Leonard's last name at the moment. Sheldon gets fired in this episode by Dr. Gablehauser, and he shouldn't trust him anyway because that's the creeper teacher from Election. There's still some decent things here. There's a section where Sheldon and Penny go shopping together, and they talk about stuff from weight tied to self-worth, and then fruit, and then multivitamins. It's silly, sure, but the actors have really good chemistry. And here's the turn. This episode starts with the boys randomly playing Risk with condiments at a restaurant, which is just an excuse to randomly say a bunch of references. Sheldon acts like a dick for no reason about a burger, and then panics when he has to be explained a tie on a doorknob. Yep. That's the Sheldon I know. Leonard and Sarah Gilbert hook up when they're playing the cello and the violin, and she says to him, "I really admire your fingering. Perhaps you could try that on my instrument." Yep, that's the Chuck Lorre I know. Then Penny suddenly acts jealous of Leonard, which would be like if 5 episodes into Friends, Rachel was randomly jealous of Ross. What nice things could I say about the Halloween episode? Sheldon rocks the Doppler effect costume. Simon Helberg has really good comedic timing, so he can be funny while also being creepy as Wolowitz. In this one, Leonard stands up to Penny's muscular ex-boyfriend by defeating him with words. And all I really want to see is just the Tri-Lambs put liquid heat in the Alpha Beta's jocks. Oh, and Penny drunk kisses him in this episode, and Raj has sex even though he still can't talk to women. Well, I'll admit it, when there's some jokes that land. Sheldon has a joke about a whore from Omaha and kosher Cornhuskers that are pretty funny. Some of the story isn't that bad here either, like Penny defeating Sheldon at Halo and him being pissed about it. Then Sheldon bitches that he can't watch Doctor Who while eating cereal in the morning. Just watch it in your bedroom. You had no problem hanging out in there when Dr. Gablehauser fired you. And just order 4 fucking dumplings. Who gives a shit if Wolowitz is there or not? Given that James Hong is the waiter, I'm assuming that this is the same Chinese restaurant from Seinfeld. Why not? Dr. Gablehauser was the bad Seinfeld tennis pro, and Wolowitz's mom went on a date with George when he was trying to get on the good side of his unemployment office counselor. What show am I talking about again? Oh, and Raj's dad is Babu from Seinfeld. Is Judge Reinhold gonna show up as the close talker? Penny becomes a bartender and makes drinks for everyone except Sheldon, who doesn't drink. Please drink. Works for Raj when he can only talk to women when he's drunk, and then he drinks himself to death. There is something I like, though, about Sheldon cock-blocking Raj, because we are still early enough in the series where Sheldon can kinda sometimes be a little charming, especially when Raj is drunkenly calling his date fat. Oh, and Sheldon does get fun at the end when Penny gets him drunk, so stay drunk! Do the writers of this show actually know big words, or do they simply have the largest thesaurus collection in the world? This episode has Sheldon using 12-letter words to describe taking a shit. There's an early appearance here of the Sheldon laugh. You know, the one that looks like he's fighting back a sneeze. Must be why in the climax, Sheldon tries using his mind to blow up Leonard's head. Does Sheldon think he actually is trying to murder him? Anyway, Hofstadter, that's Leonard's last name. This was weird. Well, it's the first episode with the trademark Sheldon knock, the one that looks like a robot malfunctioned while knocking on his neighbor's door to ask to borrow some sugar. Sheldon's scared to be wrapped up in a lie that Leonard told Penny, to the point to where he changes it and even goes so far as to hire an actor to pretend to be a drug addict. And he thinks that lying may be making Leonard a sociopath, despite the fact that characters on this show have told lies before. The episode opens with them lying about chicken. Yet again, Penny says a line, Sheldon reacts as if he's taking her literally, and then there's an awkward pause. I'm gearing up for that happening thousands more times in this show. Sheldon gets very sick in this episode and is so insufferable about it that it causes the other characters to try to escape, thus leaving Penny in charge of taking care of Sheldon, so she has to wipe Vicks VapoRub on his chest and sing him the song Soft Kitty. Oh, you don't know Soft Kitty? That's easy. It's the writers of the show saying to themselves, hey, we need our own smelly cat! Oh, Raj still can't talk to women and has to be drunk in order to do so? We're still going with that, huh? Sheldon competes with a 15-year-old Asian kid who is better at everything than Sheldon, including being obnoxious. He is way more obnoxious than Sheldon is. Wolowitz tells Sheldon, you don't have so many friends to where you can just start insulting them. Have you two met before? It's okay, they do destroy the kid by the end of it by turning him into a 15-year-old alcoholic. It is turning into an 80s movie. I'm sorry, so the geeks on this show don't know The Daughters from the Brady Bunch, or Fast Times at Ridgemont High, or Looney Tunes. The only thing they know is literally just old science fiction TV series. Fuck you! Anyway, the boys enter a physics bowl, and Sheldon is kicked off the team because he's too annoying. The hell d'you think was gonna happen? It's a contest that ends with them, of course, playing We Are the Champions. I really do just want to watch Revenge of the Nerds. Our boys now go forsies on a life-size replica of the time machine, which they all have to share in their homes or apartments. I would say The Simpsons did it, but even saying that is kind of a cliche at this point. Plus, I reference Friends way more than I do The Simpsons. Leonard gets depressed when Penny judges him for the time machine, and Sheldon acts very shocked when he actually gives Leonard some advice. Why is he shocked? He was doing that a lot in the beginning of the series. Didn't take me very long to go from, this is okay, to really not liking this, did it? Guess I am a little behind in my Friends references. Remember the Friends episode where Joey used a thesaurus to change every single word in a letter that he wrote about Chandler and Monica? Now imagine that letter as an entire series. So Sheldon has a hot twin sister that his friends have never met or heard of. Sure, yeah, she's hot and they all want to bang her. And Raj now needs meds to talk to women. I hope he mixes that with the alcohol. But I'm mostly laughing here at the changes made to existing products like the Diet Coke can that now says Diet Cola, or the can that says A&V root beer. I can't get too mad at this episode. It introduced me to Trestling. That's where you arm wrestle with one arm and play Tetris with the other. I like arm wrestling, and I love Tetris, so sign me up. It's Leonard's birthday, and they want to throw him a surprise party, and in a funny sequence, Wolowitz fakes a nut allergy and then has a real one in order to get Leonard out of the apartment. I must congratulate the sperm bank nurse from the pilot, now getting a job as an ER nurse, and Sheldon begins inadvertently working at a Best Buy when the customers all start asking him questions. This one was fine. This one's fine too, it's less than 20 minutes long. In this season finale, Leonard asks out Penny while she's crying right after her relationship just ended. Timing! But I do like how that possible bad timing is worked into the plot, and there is a good scene where this is talked about in regards to Schrodinger's cat. Not that it matters, they end up kissing at the end of the episode anyway. Then the show was cancelled! Just kidding, there's 11 seasons left. I know there's an unaired pilot. I'm watching official Big Bang Theory canon on this binge watch. Well, Leonard and Penny's date went well. She's scared that he's too smart for her. He lectures about yogurt, and then when they kiss, the security camera zooms in on her cleavage. Chuck Lorre's as romantic as Booger Man with a nut allergy. But Sheldon has a lot of trouble keeping Penny's secret that she doesn't have a college education, even though he's kept secrets in the past. But he's likable and pretty funny in this episode, like when he lies about moving out in order to keep this secret. I'm sensing two Sheldons. There's the likable one, and then there's the one that complains about burgers for an entire episode. Aw, Leonard and Penny are still just friends? Especially since in this one she's dating Ben the soldier from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's okay, that guy needs a break. Plus Leonard and Sarah Gilbert are dating here, which, no, she and David never work out! I was more interested in the product renaming here, such as when they rename a can of 7-Up Z-Up. I was trying to spot the names of the candy in the candy machine in the background, but all they did was just turn the wrappers backwards. That's lame. Ooh, Sprite can in the shot, but all they did was just remove the name. Boo. This episode pokes fun at online gaming addiction when Penny gets addicted to a Warcraft type game, which causes her to suffer socially and physically. Although it's cured very fast at the end, simply because Wolowitz asks her out in the game. Look, I've seen episodes of procedurals that turn online gamers into killers. This episode is fine. It parodies game addiction in a way that you'd pretty much have to in a sitcom like this. Well, this one was obnoxious. It starts with Penny asking for some dumplings, and then Wolowitz saying, you're the dumplings. He's less Joey Tribbiani and more sex offender registry. Everyone here sucks. Raj grows an ego because he's mentioned in a People magazine article, and Sheldon has trouble smiling about it, despite the fact he smiled in previous episodes. There's a part where Raj is in a restaurant and he says he's in People magazine, and then Charlie Sheen turns around and says, "Wake me when you're on the cover." Why the hell did that just happen? Just because he's on your other show doesn't mean that makes sense. Our boys stage an intervention for Sheldon because he can't drive, and he's making them all go crazy because he's depending on them for constant rides to and from work and to Pottery Barn. Just take a fucking cab. Problem solved. Oh, and Octavia Spencer is in this as a DMV employee. I choose to believe that this is the same universe where this character then becomes the nurse from Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. This episode ends weird. It ends like a horror film where the Spanish janitors see Sheldon's leftover toast in the cafeteria and think that there's some kind of killer or phantom in the building. The hell was that? Sheldon and Sarah Gilbert's Leslie Winkle have a very special relationship. They hate each other and she calls him dumbass a lot. Like, a million times, several in this episode alone. Just bang already. Bang is in the title. Oh, but Sheldon's in a relationship in this one with an Ice Queen grad student played by Ricky Lindholm who won't let him play video games. It's kind of like Saving Silverman. And this also ends weird. Leonard has a nightmare where Sheldon eats too much Thai food and then splits into two Sheldons. Did the required runtime fall short here? Ugh. It's a jerk-ass Sheldon episode where he banishes Penny from the apartment because of a 3 strikes policy in which she got the 3rd strike from touching his onion rings. I related to Joey Tribbiani's Joey doesn't share food policy, but this, suck it up. And the others want her to apologize to him. Control your friend! But these are the same friends that spend a subplot using satellite and video footage to narrow down the location of the house that the America's Next Top Models stay in. And then they sneak into the house while dressed like cable men. Simon Helberg is talented, but there's only so much he can do to keep this character from seeming like it's out of a thriller. An 80s movie can sometimes get away with this because maybe it's cartoonishly over the top, or just of that time, or better written to the point to where it has positives about it that outweigh the things about them that are dated. This is like an episode of You with a laugh track. Leonard and Wolowitz's friendship is put to the test when Leonard starts dating Sarah Rue, who Wolowitz has been phone stalking and he's super mad about it. Whatever, Wolowitz has been trying to bang Penny in like every episode. I don't really care about the rest of the details here. This episode is when my food came. See, in season 1, I ordered from New China, which is one of my favorite Springfield Chinese restaurants, and they finally started delivering. And for season 2, it's Gateway to India, best Indian restaurant in town. The building that it's in used to be a Popeyes when I was a kid. Sarah Rue is back again, which I like a lot because she's a really underrated actress. Though Sheldon keeps ruining her and Leonard's dates because he keeps showing up as an annoying third wheel because he's afraid that Leonard's gonna blow it. Ass! Why is Sheldon surprised by Penny's messy apartment? We've already established in the second episode that he knows this because that's when he snuck into her place to clean it while she was asleep. Maybe I should have ordered pizza, since I ordered Chinese food in season 1, and during season 1's opening credits, they're all eating Chinese food, and in season 2, they're all eating pizza in the credits. No, my tikka masala was really delicious. Anyway, Penny and Sarah Rue Stephanie are surprised that Leonard has never mentioned Penny to her before, even though I could have swore they all shared a group scene together. I could be wrong. But her not seeing or having heard of Penny is like if Jerry was dating someone for several weeks and they never saw or heard of George Costanza. Thought I'd switch it up from the Friends references. I'm not even sure if that comparison works. So Leonard and Stephanie were still dating in the previous episode, he just didn't want her to completely move into his place, and the episode even ended with the two of them sleeping together. But here, they must have broken up before this episode because she is never seen or referenced on this show again. What? Why even build that relationship up? Instead, Leonard has a man crush on physicist Michael Trucco, who begins dating Penny, and he should be super jealous. That's Anders from Battlestar Galactica. He's never seen on the show again either, but at least they properly write him out at the end of this. After about 1 million creepy-ass comments, Penny finally tells Wolowitz that he's creepy and pathetic and will grow old and die alone. Thank you. But then she's made to feel like the bad guy, and they want her to apologize because of her incredible Hulk temper. Fuck off! This is the same guy who used satellites to map out the location of a house of models. I know they're trying to humanize him here, but you really should have done that in season 1. Alright, this is also the first episode of John Ross Bowie's Kripke. You know, the character where the joke is that he sounds like Elmer Fudd for no reason. Just occurred to me, I don't know who sings the theme song to this show. Search, 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 search. Oh, it's the Bare Naked Ladies. I like the Bare Naked Ladies. I don't know why I didn't realize that. Anyway, in this episode, Sheldon tries to figure out the algorithm for making a new friend, and in one scene, he attempts to make friends with a random 7-year-old girl in a bookstore. Weird! This episode was fine. Sheldon loans Penny some money, and things do not go as planned. I really do like the line, "It just occurred to me, you could solve all of your problems by obtaining more money." And there is a really good joke about a frivolous lawsuit. So far in this series, I honestly do really like the Penny character. There are a lot of two-dimensional people on this show, and she could easily be the kind of character who would be like, Star Trek, what's that?" But she has real-life problems like debt and her dreams being crushed. And this episode is the last that we see of her ex-boyfriend Kurt from the pilot, so I guess she killed him. I completely forgot about the Dr. Pepper can from a few episodes back. It was a Dr. Pepper can, only they renamed it Dr. Pepper, which sounds like it would be Wolowitz's Pornhub name. Anyway, Christine Baranski plays Leonard's mom, even though she acts way more like Sheldon, as if a soap opera twist will happen. Then it turns into sexual chemistry between the two of them, and I kept rooting for them to bang. And this is in an episode where Leonard and Penny get drunk and start making out in her bed, and somehow that seemed more incestuous. Weird episode! I've got 7 episodes left this season, and I already feel really tired. Oh, bless you, Celsius drink. I can taste the berries before I nap. I don't know, Wolowitz and Leslie Winkle start banging, and Sheldon spends an entire episode freaking out because Penny accidentally shot his couch cushion with a paintball gun. This feels like the kind of episode you get when you have to make 20+ episodes of a show every season. Our boys have to go to San Francisco, and they want to fly, but Sheldon insists on taking a train, so they all have to take a train. As an avid lover of train travel, I actually do relate to Sheldon in this episode. But Summer Glau, as herself, happens to be on the train, so a few of them creepily hit on her, as if I'm supposed to believe that she wouldn't immediately mace them. With Summer Glau here, this episode feels really sweepsy. I'm not a fan of sweepsy episodes. Oh, and when Raj finds out he's been drinking non-alcoholic beer, turns out the whole can only be drunk to talk to women thing is just in his head. Oh, you don't frickin' say! Someone like Sheldon has never heard of Radiohead? Yeah, okay. Penny opens her own online Penny Blossoms business, and they get in way over their head when a customer orders 1,000 Penny Blossoms. I got none to say here, so I just said the plot of the episode with an attitude. Gives me a chance to look up trivia. For instance, did you know that the stairwell set is just one floor? They simply reuse it by putting different decorations on the wall. Oh, but you do get to see Sheldon on coffee here, because that's what I want to see. Sheldon all jittery and manic. The title has Dead Hooker in it, so I'm assuming this is the one where they find out Wolowitz is a serial killer. Just kidding. Valerie Aslin from the Joe Schmo Show plays the new hot girl in the building, who all the guys have a crush on, and that gets Penny super jealous. They must be enemies now and hate each other. Despite her not moving out at the end, Valerie Aslin is never seen in the series again, so Wolowitz probably is a serial killer. It's the first appearance of the comic book shop, as well as Kevin Sussman as Stuart, the comic shop owner. And of course the store is introduced by Penny walking in, and all the guys in the store looking up at her, jaws dropped, going, "Duh, stop that, that's lazy." Stuart and Penny almost hook up, but then he's distracted by Sheldon and a debate about Batman. Oh, happens to the best of us. This episode starts with them saying that C-3PO looks like a shiny Sheldon, and that is so accurate. That's what I see now. I do like Sheldon having to be explained friends with benefits, and the ending joke on that is pretty funny too. But it's mainly about Wolowitz being dumped by Leslie Winkle, which I forgot that was even still going on. How does that have more of a conclusion than the Sarah Rue story? They go to Vegas and get Wolowitz a hooker who is never seen in the show again. So, you guessed it, dead. Sheldon references Mountain Dew, which means Mountain Dew, by its proper name, exists in the same universe as Dr. Pepper, Diet Cola, and Z-Up. This episode's only 18 minutes long, so that was a quick sit, I guess, considering that the episode is about sitting on the toilet. I guess there's a lot of commercial breaks on networks now. You don't need longer than that, I guess, for a plot about fixing a space station toilet so that shit doesn't float around the astronauts. And then it ends with meatloaf falling from the ceiling. Really? In the season finale, the boys are all excited at the prospect of Sheldon being out of their lives for 3 months as he goes on a trip to the North Pole. Why do they all hang out in the apartment all the time if they hate him so much? But they all go to the North Pole together, like I said, for 3 months. You know, summer rerun hiatus. I feel like after 2 seasons, not a lot has really happened. Sheldon says his first and second bazinga in this episode, so you can put that on t-shirts. And there is a funny door gag in this episode. Guess that's the end of season 2. Did I miss something? The guys left for the North Pole for like 3 months, and now they're back, and Leonard and Penny are making out hardcore, despite neither of them really talking about this. Friends reference alert. Imagine if at the end of season 1, Ross left for China, and then at the beginning of season 2 is when he and Rachel are making out after watching the prom video. Everyone else is reacting normally to this, as if they're privy to scenes that don't exist. Them being together is mentioned so little that even calling it a B-plot would be a little bit of a stretch, and they sleep together in the episode. The episode is mainly just about cheering up Sheldon. Well, I guess they're not together, but they are banging, although the sex is just kinda okay, so they need to be really shit-faced first. Ha, that's normal. And stop unnaturally using really big words as a joke. It's really forced. Frasier did this incredibly well and made it feel natural. This is no Frasier. Last season, Sheldon was too scared to climb a wall, but here, he's perfectly fine with climbing down an elevator shaft. And as for Wolowitz, even I know that Wolverine once had bone claws. This isn't very well written. But at least we do get to see Lewis Black as a bug expert do about 10 minutes of material. This one's not bad. I've actually seen this one before. It's the one where Sheldon uses chocolate as positive reinforcement for Penny. I'm well versed in this. It's why I always keep a plate of deviled eggs around Laura. Reach into a bag, deviled egg? Ooh, thank you. Oh, and Leonard calls Penny his girlfriend in this one, so I guess they moved on to sober sex. I find the status of this relationship very confusing, and I'm the viewer. This shouldn't be the case. Oh no! Raj is gonna get deported if he doesn't get another job at the university. You're asking a lot for me to care about this. At least if he were to get deported, he'd stop holding up the line at the grocery store because the clerk happens to be a woman. I'm only guessing this happens. I don't know how he functions in this universe. The person he interviews for is a woman, and then he grabs a scotch and gets really pervy. I'm glad he starts working for Sheldon and Sheldon is a dick to him. Although I did like the Rocky-style montage of them just staring at a dry erase board. Probably my least favorite cliche in a sitcom is, have you met my unmentioned friend? A celebrity? And even worse, the, have you met my unmentioned relative? A celebrity? Wil Wheaton makes his first of many guest appearances as himself, who is Sheldon's nemesis, but they do meet at a Magic the Gathering type tournament, and the show is around LA, and Wil Wheaton is a big geek in real life, so I'll allow it. What I won't allow is the line, "You mean the Wil Wheaton? Wesley Crusher from Star Trek The Next Generation?" In case you didn't know. Melissa Rauch as Bernadette, Wolowitz's love interest, also makes her first appearance here, although she hasn't perfected her Karen from Will and Grace voice yet, so it's only a partial first appearance. Leonard wants to impress Penny and her football-loving friends by learning about some football, and things don't go as planned. Surprised it's taken them this long to do this plot. But on a much better note, it was lunchtime, and since they're still eating pizza in the opening credits, we ordered the Pizza Hut Ultimate Cheesy Crust Pizza, and it is amazing. It's kind of like the stuffed crust pizza if it was exploded with firecrackers. I need these pleasures. They show a Sierra Mist can and it's just called Sierra Mist, and then they just put a price sticker over the Vault logo. I don't know how brand names work in this world. Leonard and Penny have their first big fight because Leonard is super jealous that Penny's musician ex-boyfriend is sleeping on her couch. I feel like I already know what's gonna happen in the series. At some point in the early seasons, they're gonna break up, and then at another point later in the series, they're gonna get back together. Speaking of relationships, remember when Penny went on a couple of dates with Stuart, the comic shop owner? Well, now their relationship is basically just Rachel and Gunther from Central Perk. I love you. As for Sheldon, here he rings Wolowitz's doorbell, which means he can ring doorbells, he just chooses not to. Yep, here's another type of episode you get when you have to fill an entire 20+ episode a season order. A few of them go camping and watch Dune and get super baked. Meanwhile, Penny dislocates her shoulder and Sheldon takes her to a hospital and sings her Soft Kitty. We are gonna make this Soft Kitty thing happen. This episode could have been placed roughly anywhere in the season. Bernadette made her first appearance a few episodes back and hasn't been referenced since. Maybe she's hanging out with Sarah Rue. I guess if you want to make camping more boring, you could watch Dune. Why did I say that? I like camping. Guess Bernadette is done hanging out with Sarah Rue, cause she's back. Is Wolowitz gonna tell her that he tried banging a few women in the last couple episodes? I think some of these may be aired out of order. This show is getting too successful. Fanta is just called Fanta, but it's not successful enough for Sunkissed, which is called Sir-Kissed. That's not even a word! It was pretty funny when Penny walked in the room and said, "Hey Raj, talk to me," and then laughed at his discomfort. Your heroes could be written a little bit better if I'm laughing at someone being mean to them. And between Kripke, Wil Wheaton, and Sarah Gilbert, how many nemesis does Sheldon need? I'm guessing Bernadette is Wolowitz's girlfriend now, since he says that about 18 times in the episode. Instantly, he's jealous because she and Leonard have a lot in common, and he should be jealous. Remember when he cock-blocked him over Sarah Rue, and we all remember what happened to her? Actually, we don't. You probably should have explained that. And Raj has a lot of nerve calling Mario a stereotype. Hey Raj, how's that whole talking to women thing coming along? Christine Baranski is back as Leonard's mom, and good news, she and Sheldon still have amazing sexual chemistry. This is the couple that I'm rooting for the most in this series. Plus, she and Leonard's dad are getting divorced, and she drunkenly kisses Sheldon at the end. But alas, it isn't meant to be since she leaves for home at the end. just occurred to me that if you were to put glasses on Wolowitz, he just looks like an ordinary, everyday hipster. When I look at him, I think less science nerd and more he definitely has PBR in his pocket. Anyway, Leonard is worried about his relationship with Penny because she believes in psychics. Dude, if Niles and Daphne could make it work, you'll be fine. And there's some kind of Raj plot line in there, but since when do I care about Raj plot lines? This one's really scary. Leonard and Sheldon are robbed, and when they walk into the apartment, Wolowitz and Raj's heads are up on spikes. That last part may not be true, but our boys are safe because the officer in charge is Lester from Miami Vice. Sheldon patiently waits for CSI to show up, and I can't help but wonder if that's a subtle reminder that an all-new episode of CSI Miami most likely aired after this. Whatever, I'm not watching it. Okay, a lot of these episodes really are just about 18 or 19 minutes long. If you cut out the opening credits of this, it's under 18 minutes. Lack of material or too many commercials? Actually, I'm okay with this episode. It's got Yardley Smith in it, and it plays One Night in Bangkok. My biggest takeaway here isn't really the plot, it's the part where Bernadette says that she's good with children because her mother ran an illegal daycare center in the basement. What? I'm gonna need more information about that. Hang on, Z-Up is now Zun? Z-U-N? Has it always been Zun? Have I been wrong about Z-Up this entire time? This is one of those Sheldon is a toddler episodes. He spends the whole time bitching because Leonard wants to take Penny to Switzerland instead of him. At one point, he even wants to break off he and Leonard's friendship over it. I think it's the first time the roommate agreement is mentioned by name, and I feel that all of these disagreements can be ended with, "I live here and pay rent too, shove that agreement up your ass." Oh, and it's Valentine's Day. Did I say that Raj has lame, if existent, plot lines? Well, in this one, he has theme music that plays out of his shirt. I stand corrected. Stan Lee guest stars in this episode, and poor Sheldon misses his chance to meet him, so he and Penny show up uninvited to Stan Lee's house. Then Sheldon is killed by guard dogs. Alright, that's not true, but the episode does have Stephen Paymer in it as a judge. I liked that. Remember that show Boston Common? That was pretty underrated. Our boys go forsies on a box that they bought at a garage sale, and it just happens to have one of the rings in it from Lord of the Rings, plus plenty of My Precious references. And this is really tearing their friendship apart. I feel like we've already done a plot line similar to this. I distinctly remember making a reference to the Simpsons Radioactive Man comic. Although this episode does have one of my favorite moments so far, where Sheldon says, "I don't understand why I never get my way," and the reaction that Leonard gives is a pretty brilliant piece of comedic timing by Johnny Galecki. I'll give it that. I'm confused. Sheldon wins the Chancellor's Award, but is very nervous because he has to give a speech and has stage fright. Except I've seen him do public speaking many times before. This is the first season that my wife is watching with me, and my wife does have a degree in science, and one of the things that she's pointed out is that the show does have a lot of references and in-jokes in it that would be pretty unnoticeable to me or just go right over my head, but she picks up on them pretty easily, so I do see why there is certainly an audience there. Oh, and another note from her, she also says that the opening credit sequence does give her a headache. Alright, I allowed the Will Wheaton appearance before, but now he's on their rival's bowling team, and they have changed their team name to the Wesley Crushers. This is getting a bit silly. And this is an episode where Leonard tells Penny that he loves her, and she doesn't say it back, yet it feels like a B-plot. I mean, look at the episode's title. There's a lot of Avatar references this season as well. Hang on, check. Yep, came out around this time. Well, I guess Leonard and Penny are broken up now. Showing them having the actual breakup conversation would be too much, I guess. Best put that between the episodes. Thank God we have a scene of Sheldon being chased by dogs because he's got hot dogs in his pocket. Then again, this is the same season where Wolowitz is dating Bernadette, yet she's never referenced on any episode that she's not in, and she's only been on it twice. Though it was pretty funny when Sheldon told Leonard that he's been seeing Penny behind his back. No other context needed. Ooh, product name alert. In this one, instead of Fiji water, it's BG water. And since my favorite band is the Bee Gees, I approve of this. Fresca's okay to use, I guess. That can was sitting right next to the bottle of BG water. Anyway, Wolowitz and Bernadette broke up weeks ago? Maybe? I think? I can't tell if he's lying to try to get laid. This show is bad at writing relationships. The rest of the episode has Judy Greer as a fellow scientist and a nympho who at the end of the episode wants to have a gangbang with the boys. Did I just put in the porno spoof? How does this always happen to me? Excellent. A flashback episode to when our boys first met. Turns out that young Leonard has the same hair and glasses as young Ted Mosby. The way that the others are dressed, apparently 2003 was 1986. Glenn from The Walking Dead is Sheldon's former roommate who wrote "Die Sheldon Die" on the wall in blood. Did Sheldon used to live with a serial killer? The elevator was ruined by an explosion from one of Leonard's experiments, so I do kind of get why they are all still friends, since Sheldon did save Leonard's life in this episode. Meanwhile, Laura recognized the equations in the background on Sheldon's whiteboard, and she got all of Sheldon's science questions right. I'm the Penny in our marriage. Well, this is the season finale, I guess. We meet Sheldon's future girlfriend, Amy Farrah Fowler, plus we meet Penny's not-so-bright future boyfriend, Zach, in a season where Leonard and Penny get together and then break up, and Wolowitz and Bernadette get together, and I have no idea if they're even still a thing. A lot has happened, and yet it feels like nothing has happened. In shows like Cheers, Friends, Frasier, life events are treated like important life events, whereas here, it's treated as an afterthought or a B-plot. Important events in people's lives are carried with the weight of a feather, as they just move on to whatever the next joke is. What's next season gonna bring? Does it matter? Last season finale was so uneventful that I had to stop for a second to try to remember what happened. Oh right, we met Sheldon's love interest, Amy Farrah Fowler, played by Mayim Bialik. Don't know Amy? Just think of her as Lilith Crane's nerdy little sister. Will Amy disappear for a while like Bernadette? I doubt it, cause I can't really see Sheldon trying to screw a robot arm. That's right, that's Wolowitz's plotline here. He gets his penis stuck in a robot arm that was built for NASA because he wanted a robot hand job. Could this be a shark jumping moment? I don't know. If I calculate the odds, it'll probably get way more stupid. Oh, my numbers were correct. Sheldon turns himself into a robot because he becomes agoraphobic for an episode. The boys hate the fact that he's just a digital version of himself. Hey guys, Why don't you just stop taking him with you? It's on wheels and you're the ones who loaded into the car. Don't worry, he's cured of this when real Sheldon leaves his room because real Steve Wozniak happens to be at the restaurant they all eat at. Oh, and we find out Raj uses binoculars to watch Penny as she jogs. Yeah, I'm calling it. Dick and Robot Arm is the shark jumping moment. Or this one. I'll back either argument. Oh god. If Lilith Crane is Broadway, Amy is the High Tops musical. Amy is such a level of condescending and entitled that she makes Sheldon look as charming as Tom Hanks. I think it's funny that they both act like robots with each other, yet Heart Beeps was the far more touching love story. She's still not as unlikable as Raj. At least I could see Amy growing through the series, whereas Raj still can't talk to women and has to get drunk first. Even Wolowitz has grown more as a character, and this season opened with him getting his dick stuck in a robot arm. At this point, the most likable characters are the cats that Sheldon buys in this episode. And of course they're gone by the end of it. Bernadette is finally back, and with her perfected Karen from Will and Grace voice. Yay? Since they never showed her and Wolowitz breaking up, they had to explain it in this episode. Gee, maybe you should have done an episode showing that. Oh, but thank God we got the episode last season about the boys getting stoned in the desert. Sadly, I think that means it didn't work out with him and the robot arm, and given that we find out that he once gave Penny a teddy bear with a webcam in it, I kinda hope he ends up with no one. This shows you that what a difference heart and better jokes make, because I love Revenge of the Nerds, yet I'm starting to hate this. Leonard is sad that he's the only single one in the group, though in this case I think that makes him the winner. Do you remember the robot ducks from Star Odyssey? Watching Sheldon and Amy Skype with each other like a flirting Siri, it makes me regret everything that I said about the robot ducks. Amy is like if the class clown wrote Lilith. The class clown was probably funny in the 8th grade. He isn't now. Though she might as well be Lilith Stern and Crane. Wolowitz's mom is the show's Vera Peterson and Maris. Well, Raj suddenly has a sister, and suddenly she and Leonard are fuck buddies. Stop putting pertinent information between the episodes. Apparently this started 5 years ago. Raj is super mad about this. Hey Raj, how about all the times you got drunk and sexually harassed Penny? Sheldon has to come up with an ironclad alibi in order to keep Leonard's lie. I feel like I've explained that before, and this isn't even the only time this season they're repeating plot lines. I shouldn't complain. This episode has the most laughs so far this season. The scene where the boys all admit the shitty things they've done to one another is actually kind of funny. Oh no! Wolowitz gets his security clearance taken away by Agent Eliza Dushku, and this is far more believable than Raj hanging out with Neil deGrasse Tyson, also in this episode. The Mars rover incident is mentioned, which is the closest this show has come to referencing Sarah Rue again. But Sheldon dreaming about a Gorn was pretty funny. I would say, where's Amy? But so far this season, the only episodes with funny parts in them are the ones that Amy isn't in. Go figure. Amy's back. I wonder if this episode will be any good. I joke, but they actually make her pretty sympathetic in this one. She wants to join Penny and Bernadette's girls' night in order to fit in, and they have to teach her about things like girl talk and playing slumber party games. That settles that. Already Amy has had more character growth than Raj has had in 4 seasons. But with the boys' plotline revolving around them going to see Raiders of the Lost Ark, I can't help but think, yeah, I should be binge watching Indiana Jones instead. Or the Eric Andre show, he's in this. And Keith Carradine is in this one as Penny's dad. Thank God, I do love Keith Carradine. Though I'm kinda surprised Robert Carradine has never made an appearance on this show. Nice that Bernadette says that once Wolowitz finds a joke that he likes, he sticks with it. Kinda sums up the writer's view of Raj in a nutshell. Seriously, he's a functioning alcoholic at this point. Give or take the word functioning. In this one, he gets drunk and tries forcing a kiss on Bernadette right in front of Wolowitz. Why did I used to say that Wolowitz was the worst character on this show? Not true. And who are the people in the pictures on Penny's fridge? Here we see Raj and Wolowitz fighting over which one of them is the sidekick. That's easy. Wolowitz started out shitty, got yelled at by Penny, is still kinda shitty, but at least is in a long-term relationship. Raj is still Raj. By the way, that isn't solved by the end of the episode. Glad that was a plot. My favorite takeaway from this one is Laura getting really mad because Sheldon is eating in Amy's lab where he would not be allowed to eat. I believe her words were, "That brain procedure would easily be violated. Those specimens are now ruined." The rest of the episode is about Amy being horny. Just fuck already. It would solve so much. I guess Penny and Zach, the dumb boyfriend with a heart of gold, are back together. I really hope that Sheldon mentions that in the previous episode, he tried getting him to bang Amy. I'm honestly glad this character is back. The jokes are dumb, but the actor, Brian Thomas Smith, has pretty good comedic timing. He's got kind of a Jock meets Chevy Chase vibe to him. The plot is about them doing a group costume party, and it's interesting that Raj doesn't want to be Aquaman because he feels that Aquaman sucks. By that logic, it makes it very appropriate that Raj is dressing like Aquaman. Pre-Jason Momoa, because I love that movie. If you look at the IMDb page for this episode, it's just a picture of Raj, fooling us into thinking that this is a Raj episode. Is it? Nope. Leonard wants to create an app with the boys, but then fires Sheldon for being too, well, Sheldon. That's it, really. Best talk about my lunch now instead. While yes, the opening still has them eating pizza, but I just had pizza, so instead, I ordered from Bayou Express, the Chinese place at the mall. It's okay, because the first episode this season had them all eating Chinese food with the robot arm, so it works out. Mall Chinese food takes me back to working part-time jobs and with my paycheck every Friday, then going to the mall, buying DVDs, and getting mall Chinese food. Also, I usually find mall Chinese quite delicious. Simple pleasures and memories, like I said. This episode's like being stuck in a car with the characters from The Big Bang Theory, cause that's what it is. Wolowitz says something fairly unforgivable to Bernadette when he's jealous of her 6'7" handsome ex-boyfriend. He really needs to be reminded that earlier this season, he fucked a robot arm. The gang speaks at a science convention where they get very distracted and start talking about their sex lives and also other people's penises, which makes Amy very aroused. Seriously, those two need to bang. With the whole thing being about some pretty serious fights, I'm so shocked that none of it is resolved by the end. I think I know why this season doesn't work. I haven't mentioned the fake product names once because they're not throwing any new ones out there. They're just hiding labels. Although this one's got min water instead of vitamin water, though I swear I remember that from last season. The main plot is about Penny teaching Sheldon acting, but I'm sure you really want to hear about the side plot where Raj wants to bang Bernadette and it ends with a big Bollywood dance number. Let me tell you how that goes. You see, well, this one is actually one of the better episodes. Leonard is told to sleep with an older benefactor in order to get the university some money, and Sheldon even treats him like a hooker at one point. The supporting cast is really good. Josh Malina plays the president of the university, and Jessica Walter plays the wealthy widow. And given how gorgeous Jessica Walter is, when she kept coming on to Leonard, I kept saying, "Go for it, man," which he does. But other than that, changing Simply Orange to Simp Oren, that doesn't even make sense. This is the first time I've seen a previously on segment on this show. I guess they figured the audience would be really shocked by a plot follow-up. Anyway, Raj's sister Priya is back, and she and Leonard are dating now. Glad they put a previously on at the beginning, because I would have been really confused. That's not even the main plot. The main plot is that Wolowitz moves in with Bernadette, and then he starts treating her like his mom, so she kicks him out at the end, and he moves back in with Mother. Let me guess, that's not going to be referenced again, and they're still gonna be together in the next episode. Surprised, Wolowitz and Bernadette are still together. But you know who isn't anymore? Penny and Zach, I guess. They just throw that bit of exposition in there. Stop keeping me out of the loop! Zach comes back as a possible new entourage for Sheldon, which includes Stewart, Kripke, and briefly LeVar Burton as himself. Sure. Even though Zach's dumb guy jokes are dumb on a Fuller House level, the actor is still really good. Even John Ross Bowie's timing as Kripke is good, despite his only joke being his speech impediment. And again, who are the people in the pictures on Penny's fridge? Boy, more jealousy. Priya wants Leonard to stop being friends with Penny since they're exes. I think I know why that is. Leonard accidentally said Penny's name at Ross and Emily's wedding. But seriously, you think that's treated with any kind of dramatic weight like Friends did? Nope. It ends with Penny basically going, haha, no sweat, and just leaves for work. Now granted, I'd be okay with not being friends with some of them, but she's supposed to like them. If the characters don't care, why should I? God, nothing really means anything in this show. Penny still hangs out with Leonard, and she and Priya are just kinda awkward around each other. This is one of the most apathetic and easily distracted shows I've ever seen. What would have in most other shows been a dramatic ending in the last episode, in this, it's just all about the boys helping Sheldon get back stuff that was stolen from him on Warcraft. Though it is pretty cool when Penny kicks the guy in the balls at the end. The biggest shocker in this episode is I think you can see Wolowitz's mom in some of the pictures in their house. That's a very big step. The most that we saw of Vera Peterson on Cheers was when she had a pie on her face. This is an episode in which Bernadette wants to break up with Wolowitz, only he doesn't know about it yet. And we're only told about this by other people, with Bernadette never shown relaying this information or why. It'd be great if Bernadette was in some scenes featuring this pertinent information. I guess a better use of our time is Raj getting drunk and hitting on Bernadette, who he is still obsessed with. Creep! Oh, does it end with her and Wolowitz breaking up? Nope, they get engaged. Woo. Not like she kicked him out for his mommy issues this very season, and they never discussed it afterwards. There's a few things I like here. I like how lawyer Priya completely dismantles Sheldon's roommate agreement. And honestly, I like most of the scenes this season that just feature Bernadette, Amy, and Penny as a trio. Their dynamic of them being completely different than one another is rather interesting. But more importantly, there's no Raj. This is why I added the stipulation earlier that Amy might grow over the season, and it turns out she did. I started out hating this character, and now she's fine. You know, like settling on fast food because the Lilith Crane 5-star restaurant is closed. Oh, and Sheldon has his first kiss ever in this episode. No need to treat that with any weight. Let's just move right along to the vomit joke. And Amy has a smoking monkey. Hang on, there's gotta be a Marcel reference in here somewhere. Oh, there it is. I am so tired. The last few episodes of the seasons always feel like the longest. I don't know, man. The girls are trying to make Priya jealous, and Sheldon creates 3-person chess. There's almost steps taken to grow Raj as a character when he's given medication that'll stop him from being so, well, Raj. Does it work? Of course not. He goes up to a random girl in a coffee shop and then just takes all of his clothes off. Even if the medication did work, not like it would be referenced in the next episode anyway. I was kinda right. Raj gives Leonard a hard time for once giving a romantic striptease. Just one episode ago, you flashed yourself in a donut shop. I'm noticing something this season where sometimes Sheldon is significantly more germophobic than in other episodes. In this one, he's too afraid of germs to go to a hospital, even though he's gone to a hospital several times in this series. The show started with them at a sperm bank. Oh, and Wolowitz's mom has a heart attack, and they think it's because of the news of Wolowitz and Bernadette getting engaged. They have a huge fight about this, which of course isn't resolved. Duh. A lot of these episodes feel like 20 minutes of 2 acts with rarely ever a third. So many of them have arguments that are never resolved, and important plot points that are either not seen or brushed off. This season finale feels like at least something is happening, and it even has an appropriate cliffhanger. Wolowitz and Bernadette have a big fight about money. Leonard and Priya might break up. Those are fine. The only dumb one is that Raj and Penny sleep together. Okay, cause I guess if you had to pick any sex offender in LA, he'll do. But that at least does feel like a real cliffhanger. So here's to seeing if any of this gets resolved. Ooh, it opens with the second previously on, which means that they are following through with another plot line. Unfortunately, Penny and Raj sleeping together is one of the worst plot developments. Sheldon thinks that she was inspecting Raj's anus for parasites, which would have been far less gross than them banging. Oh, and they supposedly did it on Leonard's bed, so they were dicks about it. But praise be to God, they didn't actually sleep together because Raj premature ejaculated, which is the most realistic thing about the Raj character. Also good news, one of my favorite characters returns, a can of Sir-Kist. With Priya back in India, she and Leonard are now in a long-distance relationship. Would have been nice actually having a scene of them saying goodbye, but it's much more important to have the plot be about them learning to Skype sex. And that's just the B plot. The main plot is about Sheldon being afraid to sit on a dirty chair. Why would you even think Sheldon would be okay with a chair that you just found on the street? As for Raj and Wolowitz, they French kiss a couple of matter transferring orbs, and that is far more awkward than the scene where Amy suggests that Sheldon go down on her. Bernadette finds out that Wolowitz is under the impression that she will be living with him and his mother after they get married. Why would she have thought otherwise? Not like his mama's boy issues is the reason why they failed at living together to begin with. Perhaps this should have been talked about before they got engaged. Don't worry, it's not resolved by the end. Bernadette stays with Wolowitz and his mom as a trial run, and it ends with Wolowitz being very frustrated because no one is there to cut his pancakes for him. And this episode is one of several times where Amy subtly suggests that she wants to bang Penny. I'm not sure if she and Sheldon are really into each other. Oh no, Raj is sad because he's the only one who is single, so he blames everyone else for this, including America. No, honey, it's just you. The gang sets him up with a girl who is deaf, played by Katie LeClaire, because God forbid actually growing the character, let's just enable him. And what does that mean? Is he just nervous around women who can hear? Hell, they even have Wolowitz be their translator, and he's constantly giving Raj advice on what to say, which is sort of like replacing Cyrano de Bergerac with Rumpelstiltskin. Unfortunately, she turns out to be a gold digger, so they break them up because they feel that Raj could do way better. No, he can't! Oh right, it also turns out that Raj is rich, so I guess it's okay now that he's a creep. Wolowitz is offered to go up into outer space, and he accepts the offer, but the big conflict here is that Bernadette is super mad about it and forbids him to go. This you get pissed at? You live with your boyfriend and his mom. I mean, I guess you still do. That wasn't really resolved last time. This is the only interesting thing to ever happen in his life. It's the best this relationship will ever get. This is not what you put your foot down about. Hell, he even kicks her out when she tells his mom on him. I never thought I would say this, but I am actually on Wolowitz's side. So much so that I am going to mark this occasion by ceasing to condescendingly refer to him as Wolowitz, and instead, from now on, I'll be calling him Howard. Oh, and Will Wheaton and Sheldon aren't enemies anymore. Oh my, Raj is found near passed out with 6 empty beer bottles in front of their apartment. I may not like him, but dear God, someone help him. He starts sobbing about being alone. And that's not even the plot. That's only one scene, and it's never mentioned again. The episode is about Sheldon being mad that his mom won't attend a physics lecture with him. According to IMDb trivia, my biggest takeaway here should be that Sheldon's mom is super politically incorrect. Great, apparently IMDb trivia is Twitter now. When the boys scare Sheldon with a Corbinite maneuver mask, I had a feeling I would probably like this episode. Especially because not one of them said, "This is from Star Trek." Courtney Ford from Dexter plays a hot comic girl who Leonard wants to go out with, but he is still in a long-distance relationship with Priya, which is a shame because of all the couples, Leonard and Courtney Ford here are among the few that actually make sense. And of course, she's only in this episode, but he and Priya do break up at the end, so congratulations on properly ending a relationship on the show. But the biggest laughs are still Sheldon trying to scare his friends by using a snake and also building a makeshift hand buzzer that he keeps accidentally shocking himself with. Despite some story issues early on, this season so far really isn't that bad. It actually does feel like there is some emotional weight going on. Amy is hurt that Bernadette and Penny go wedding dress shopping without her to the point to where she gets drunk by herself in front of a liquor store. She's become one of the most sympathetic characters on the show, and Sheldon coming in and yelling at Leonard and Howard to keep their women in line is pretty funny. Over the course of the series, I have grown to like both Sheldon and Amy as characters. But given that Amy clearly wants to have sex, and Sheldon clearly doesn't, this is an issue they're gonna have to talk about at some point, because normally that's a pretty big deal breaker. I've been talking so much about renaming sodas that this one brings in a whole new level of renaming. Renaming movies at the movie theater. There's apparently a Fallout movie and a horror film named Red Depths, plus what I think might be a monster movie called Gorge. Both plots are pretty good too. I like Penny and Leonard going out just as friends and then talking about the differences between going out on a date and just simply going out as friends. Sheldon's B-plot is really funny too, where he creates a death ray gun to get rid of a bird and it ends up breaking his windows. Then he and the bird become friends. I even appreciate little things like using new camera angles while filming in the apartment. Huh. After over a year, Sheldon finally agrees to be in an actual relationship with Amy, to the point to where he actually draws up an official relationship agreement. It's like watching an asexual version of the contract negotiation from 50 Shades, only if just one of them is asexual. Amy and Sheldon are going to have to bang at some point. Still a better relationship than an old-fashioned. There's other little things I like here too, like if you look closely, Sheldon's Facebook photo is the picture of him with the bird. Is there anything I don't like? Well, they try renaming a bottle of V8 by just simply coloring in the 8. That doesn't change anything, it still looks like it says V8. Very interesting tidbits in this episode. Leonard confronts his former high school bully, played by Lance Barber, who was Bill Ponderosa on It's Always Sunny. He would also go on to play Sheldon's dad in this series and in Young Sheldon. Mind blown. This is an episode that should definitely have the word paradox in the title. You could have stopped the world from exploding by simply bringing in Donald Gibb as Ogre to play the bully. Once again, the girls have a good plotline too, where they take a liking to robbing Goodwill bins. I know what I'm doing tonight. Watching the rest of Big Bang Theory Season 5. They run into a snooty jewelry store guy who is played by the same actor who was the snooty maitre d' in Ferris Bueller. I'm choosing to believe it's the same character. I really like that Sheldon's self-centeredness is getting in the way of him being happy for Amy's career news and how he has to learn to communicate such things in a relationship. Plus, he calms himself down by playing Red Dead Redemption and getting John drunk. I identify with this. Howard and Bernadette even fight about the fact that he really wants kids and she really doesn't. It's pointed out to him that he will never find anyone else other than her, and most importantly, this is actually resolved at the end of the episode. Only took 5 seasons for the writing to really improve. This is a milestone. We have made it to 100 episodes. I know I should be happy, but there's still like 170, 180 episodes left, give or take. Yeah, the show has gotten better, but that's a lot of episodes. This is a good one though. Leonard and Penny go out on an actual date, and the conversations that they have about being a former couple now starting over again and possibly having a new relationship is well done. The ending, where it turns out the episode was a scenario that Leonard was playing out in his head, could have been really dumb, but it is handled smart, where the date begins to play out exactly like we previously saw. Is there dumb shit? Well, Raj and Howard laugh like children for half the episode because of Sheldon's frequent use of the word would. I have no proof that that's Chuck Lorre's doing, but it seems like it is. Well, Well, now that they're back together, Leonard and Penny decide to write out lists of each other's flaws. I see this going well. Boy, does Leonard shoot himself in the foot. No, literally he does. He accidentally shoots himself at a gun range. I've talked about how a lot of the characters have grown over the course of 100 episodes. So, what's Raj doing now? His plotline is that he wants to have sex with Siri. Now I know what Spike Jonze's favorite episode is. Even Sheldon's plot here is more character-driven because it's the first time we see his show, Fun with Flags. Damn it, that was gonna be my new show. When I used to see random episodes play on TV, I would wonder, why are these people friends with each other, especially with Sheldon? But now that I've seen so many of these episodes, I get it. All they really have is each other. So it does seem a little quick that Leonard wants to dismantle his friendship and roommate agreement with Sheldon just to get some sleep. Granted, it is just played for laughs, but damn. It was worth it though to hear Leonard's romance line of, "Baby, I will kiss you so slow, it'll feel like there's a snail in your mouth." Can't wait to tell my wife that one. Oh, and Raj doesn't know who Buzz Aldrin is. Sure. There's a new fake drink, but it's a lazy one. Powerade Zero? That doesn't even sound like a drink. It sounds like a direct-to-video Van Damme movie. That should have been one of the fake movies they were at the theater some episodes ago. Sheldon is forced to take a vacation, so he hangs out with Amy in her lab, where she is willing to jeopardize a brain experiment in order to teach Sheldon a lesson. You know what I do on my days off? I watch these Big Bang Theory seasons. Yesterday I was editing the Leprechaun 2 episode, and tomorrow I'll be watching Hellraiser 2. Kinda shows you where this is in the timeline. Another note, when Leonard sits down, Raj says to him, "What? No hello, Raj? No how are you, Raj?" No. There's more Kripke in this episode, and I still don't really know why they gave him a fake speech impediment, considering the actor John Ross Bowie has one in real life. Did I say Bowie? I meant Bowie. That's just a game I like to play sometimes, called Let's See Who Pauses the Video to Tell Me. Amy and Penny's relationship is turning very single white female when Amy gets her a painting of the both of them, and it's very clear that Amy wants to bang Penny way more than she wants to bang her boyfriend. Oh, and in one scene, Raj orders a Harry Potter wand, but gets a stick sent to him instead. That's his plot. I like that it's still the same nurse in every episode when they're at a hospital. This series is gonna end with this nurse killing these people. Sheldon's OCD is challenged because he can't get his usual haircut because his barber is in the hospital, throwing his world in so much chaos that he has sex. Okay, that last part wasn't true, but he does play the bongos at 3 in the morning and no longer cares about his spot on the couch. There's even a solid piece of acting here by Simon Helberg when he has a meltdown because of a severe astronaut training exercise. I can see why this season has really good reviews. You know how sitcoms always have an on-again, off-again relationship? I think I may be in an on-again, off-again relationship with this show. This is a good setup for an episode. Amy wants to show off Sheldon to her family, but he wants to hang out with his friends all weekend and play games instead. Communication is key here. When you say to Sheldon, "Okay, fine, go be with your friends," he's going to take that as an actual suggestion. There's a funny back and forth between Leonard and Penny where he's kind of sad that she isn't upset that he's gonna be spending the weekend playing games. And it's funny later on when she screams a line about there being no difference between Star Wars and Star Trek. Even Raj has a rare important scene when he talks about how the game weekend is really important to him because it's all he has. The hell? Something tells me the next episode is gonna be a Raj episode. Forgive me, forgot to turn on the overhead light when talking about the last episode. Anyway, yes, this episode is a Raj episode. His story starts out okay. He's ready for his parents to set him up in an arranged marriage, which, well, yeah, there's no one else for this person. But then she turns out to be gay. Come on, just give this character some shred of happiness so he can grow. And no, giving him a dog at the end doesn't count. The way more captivating plot is Sheldon's, where Leonard Nimoy voices a Spock doll that gives Sheldon bad advice to open a mint-condition Star Trek toy, which he then breaks. There is something consistently funny about Sheldon talking in his sleep when he's dreaming about dumb things, and yes, this one involves a Gorn again, too. This one's quite the get, as Stephen Hawking guest stars in this episode, and Sheldon desperately wants to meet him, so Howard makes Sheldon do all kinds of things, like sell his body on the street, or just wear a dress to work. I like how they talk about the difference between doing something that you know is mean, and doing something just because you're Sheldon, and Sheldon being condescending while defining the word condescending got a big laugh out of me. I just realized I haven't talked about today's lunch yet. I've had more than enough to talk about in these episodes, including this one. Okay, fine. I felt like eating cheap today, so I got some Chinese food from Hy-Vee. I do like Hy-Vee's Chinese food. Plus, they changed the opening credit sequence this season to where they're eating Chinese food now. It's Howard's bachelor party, and not one of them talks about the time when Howard got his dick stuck in a robot arm. I appreciate that it's one of the rare sitcoms where the bachelor party isn't the night before the wedding, because who does that shit in real life? But, how do I put this? Bernadette gets really mad at Howard because of the sleaziness of his past, which, how does she not know about that? It's referenced a lot, and look at his bedroom, which is in his mother's house. Between this and space, this character really overreacts about weird things, and then underreacts about things she should be overreacting about. Woof! Leonard accidentally says, "Will you marry me?" while having sex with Penny. Happens to the best of us. According to the internet, I've been engaged several times. Plus, Howard is worried about going up into space, and it is conflicting with his wedding. Again, totally understandable. I waited till I got married to review Jason X. We finally meet Bernadette's dad, and he and Howard have a really good heart-to-heart about him going up into space. I'd go into space too. Bernadette's dad is far scarier than space travel. Don't know why there was a previously on in front of this and not on the other episodes. The last episode seemed pretty resolved, and this season has been pretty good at carrying over plots. Or are things resolved? Leonard is still mad at Penny over the faux engagement in the bedroom. He almost ruins Bernadette and Howard's wedding over this. This show used to be so bad at resolving things. Did it forget that it seemed to resolve this one already? Regardless, despite a rocky first few episodes, I see why this season has, so far, the best reviews of the first 5 seasons. The plot lines are treated with more weight. There's actually conclusions to them, and 99% of the characters have seriously grown. I hope that carries into the next season, and please do something good with Raj, because I know you don't write him out. The previously on segment is only about 10 seconds long and shows just Howard getting married and then immediately him blasting off into space. I hope the people just tuning into this show required no other context other than that. There are some relationship problems here. Bernadette is yelling at an orbiting Howard who is still in space because he hasn't told his mom yet that they are moving out. Hey, maybe wait until I get back to Earth for this. Amy is angry at Sheldon because he let Raj third wheel on their date, which, yeah, anyone on Earth or up in space would also be mad at this. It's okay, Raj gets drunk and then ruins Leonard and Penny's date. And on a side note, I actually had to look up Raj's name because I seriously forgot it, and I am 6 seasons in. I'm not joking here, I actually forgot his character's name. Don't worry though, Amy and Sheldon are fine. They redo the pay me a compliment scene from As Good As It Gets by way of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. And Minwater is now Minwater? Has it always been that? Okay, Howard is still in space, so I take it some time has passed since he and Bernadette got married. So why is she just now opening the wedding gifts and while he's still in space? Anyway, Raj and Stuart are now friends because he's tired of being the only single one in the group, so I guess that's kinda growth. I like the joke that Sheldon thinks of Leonard as the emotionless robot incapable of love, and there is a creepy Sheldon scene here where he breaks into Penny's apartment and watches over her as she sleeps because he's got something to say. Seems legit at this point. Though there is a sweet moment here where Sheldon gets all of his science talk and metaphors out of the way and legit just asks Penny not to hurt his friend Leonard. By the way, in this season, Sheldon appears to be in a new long-term relationship with his fascinating new comb-over. Trouble in, let's say, paradise. Sheldon gets a hot new assistant named Alex, and Amy is instantly jealous. It's like me being concerned that my chair is going to sleep with my table. But it's Raj who has a crush on her, though. He calls dibs. Great. Leonard does talk Raj up when he says that Raj is the poster boy of sanity when compared to Sheldon. No, he's not. And while vitamin water may be called water, life water is allowed to just be called life water. Are you sure you wouldn't just rather call it water? Howard is back from space, and I know I didn't talk a lot about this plot, but that's cause, well, the last time we saw him, he was just floating up in a space station in his tighty-whities. Whatever. He's upset that he hasn't received much fanfare since returning from space, which, fair. Hell, his mom is sleeping with boring Dr. Spafford from Friends. He went from talking about nuts to showing his nuts. The rest of the episode is about the girls constantly beating Leonard and Sheldon at games, which why would they even think that Sheldon would be any good at Pictionary? Of course he drew a Polish astronomer when the word was polish. So, Amy doesn't like Star Wars? Okay. We've had an episode this season where Penny really wanted to break up with Leonard, but didn't just because he was giving her puppy eyes at one moment. So I guess we're past that now? It doesn't seem to be mentioned again. They sleep together a lot in this episode because she visits his lab and he teaches her about things like holograms and hovering, which is actually kind of cool. There are moments in this series where, again, I could see someone taking an interest in science because of it. Meanwhile, it's Halloween and Raj needs a whip and a fedora because he wants to go as Indian Jones. And that is one of the more clever things about this character. In this Words with Friends commercial, Sheldon is playing against Stephen Hawking, only Hawking starts avoiding him because maybe he's very angry that Sheldon is winning. Or maybe he's busy searching for an alternate universe in which this is possible. Penny goes back to school, but Leonard checks her homework as she sleeps and wants to rewrite her paper because he feels that it sucks. Weird. Why would he ever think she would want to go along with this? And I'm still not sure you should be eating in a science lab surrounded by specimens. Ooh, this episode is just full of sitcom pet peeves of mine. There's a lot of Sheldon's show Fun with Flags in this episode, and ever notice how fake shows within shows are always shot with the regular series camera, just with a filter over it and the same audio, even though the prop camera that we see is like a notch below the camera I'm using right now. Amy is pissed at Sheldon for something that is 100% her fault, but it's written to where I'm supposed to agree with her, even though no one would. Plus, Will Wheaton guests on Fun with Flags, and at the end, LeVar Burton does as well. Random celebrity friends! Suddenly, Words with Friends with Stephen Hawking doesn't seem so unrealistic. And Howard doesn't get a pat on the back for being an adult married man who finally moves out of his mom's house. Sheldon's assistant Alex is back, and I am always impressed when a character returns. She has a huge thing for Leonard, which he doesn't notice, making him the most oblivious person in the world, even though previous seasons have kind of led me to believe he would notice something like this. He's not that bad with women. I've seen this episode before. The rest of it is about Raj and Howard trying to figure out what Sheldon is doing in his secret room at his work's basement. He finds their video feed and replaces it with fake footage of him discovering a wormhole that he sticks his head in, and then a rubber alien attaches itself to him. How do you do that? I've seen this one before too. Now I know which batch of episodes we're playing when we were at a hotel a few months ago. It's one of those Sheldon as a child episodes where he's furious because Howard is given Sheldon's parking space even though Sheldon doesn't own a car. Finally, a plotline for the common man. The girls are fighting too. Amy tells Bernadette that Howard's a mama's boy, and then Bernadette says, well, at least we have sex. Ladies, please, you're both making solid points. And even though in the last episode, Penny said that Leonard was in plenty of pictures on her fridge, I still recognize no one on her fridge. Well, Amy figures out one way for Sheldon to touch her. Since she's sick, she gets Sheldon to take care of her, which includes rubbing VapoRub on her chest, which nearly causes her to orgasm. Then she keeps pretending to be sick, that way he'll bathe her. When he finds out that she's lying, he punishes her by giving her a spanking. This isn't the weirdest porno I've watched. Plus, I don't know, maybe Amy should be with someone who wants to have sex. And since Sheldon didn't realize that the spanking thing was sexual, in his mind, was he just physically punishing his girlfriend? The boys play a Christmas-themed version of D&D, and I kind of feel like I usually do whenever there's a D&D based episode of a sitcom, which is, my mind is starting to wander. The rest of the episode is about the girls trying to get Raj laid. Why not? On a recent episode, his plotline was a couple sentences where he wasn't sure the difference between a zombie and a mummy. Yep, that was his plot. Here he upsets Amy because he says that he's had crushes on Penny and Bernadette, but not her. Hey Amy, you won. That's a good thing. That's our Raj, a character that the writers clearly hate, but they can't get rid of him. Leonard finally figures out that Alex is flirting with him due to a very minor case of flirting. Be more consistent with how oblivious Leonard is. Honestly, this episode is pretty good. Sheldon confronts his assistant about her crush, which lands him in the human resources department led by Regina King, who he calls a slave. You know, as in a slave to her urges. Then he inadvertently spills the beans on everything his friends have done at work throughout the previous seasons, and then they all get in hot water in human resources. It's not as good as one of my favorite Frasier episodes where he made a move on Julia and then had to go to a sexual harassment seminar, but it's pretty good. Amy doesn't understand why the guys like going to Comic-Con. Okay. Even though I made a crack earlier about something she said about Star Wars, it is nice that the show is saying that just because you're into science doesn't necessarily mean you're into Star Wars or Star Trek. But come on. She should know why the guys like going to Comic-Con. The episode has them stranded in the desert while they're dressed like Next Generation characters. The plot with the girls wanting to find out more about comic books and then getting into an argument with each other about Thor is pretty funny. Granted, it does start out with the girls walking into the comic shop and all the guys in there go, "Oh, stop that! I've already done that joke and it wasn't even funny then. More importantly, I'm hungry." Let's see, the opening credits shot shows them eating a bunch of Chinese food out of boxes that were all contained in one of those bigger quarter boxes. Oh, I love getting a lot of Chinese food in those awesome carry boxes. Anyway, they're drinking a bottle of orange Fanta, and it's just called Orange. Convenient. There is a funny plot line where Raj and Howard get dolls made out of themselves, and they look terrible, which means that the funny Raj plot lines are now still in the single digits. I love that Penny finally just up and asks Sheldon, "So when are you gonna have sex with Amy?" On the other side of it, Kripke is a little too interested in Sheldon's sex life, even asks him about toys. Creepy Kripke. Sheldon doesn't know that people get upset by spoilers. Okay, the drama goes from 0 to 11 here, as Leonard wants to move out because of Sheldon's shit. I don't know if a story this serious should be introduced in a gag before the opening credits, but since this also has to do with him wanting to move in with Penny and her not being ready for that part in their relationship yet, I really shouldn't get upset because finally it feels like something is happening in this season. For instance, Sheldon invents the soy insult when talking about Leonard. It's that term that I think got corrupted around when I got called a soy boy. Because if there's one thing that you should know about me from my show Brad Tries, it's obviously my very healthy soy-based diet. Anyway, where's my food? Seriously. I guess Stuart isn't living with Raj anymore, and are they not new best friends anymore either? And apparently Raj escaped from being kidnapped by Howard's mom. That happened. Speaking of not resolved, Alex is in this episode. Remember her having a thing for Leonard? Oh, well, that's not mentioned here. She just shows up in this episode to do some shopping for Sheldon so that Sheldon will have something to give to Amy for Valentine's Day. Think the her and Leonard thing will get brought up in a later episode? Nope, this is the last we see of Alex the assistant. She must have left to become Sarah Rue's assistant. I liked season 5, but season 6 kind of is a return to the frustrating things about the previous seasons. This whole binge watch episode has better story resolutions than the show The Big Bang Theory. Haha, I knew that criticizing this season for nothing happening would then cause something to happen. And to Raj, no doubt. Never mind this season, that's never happened in this entire series. After having a monologue about being alone, Raj meets a fellow lonely person named Lucy, played incredibly well by Kate McCucci. I double-checked to see if I was pronouncing that right. It looks like they're actually exploring Raj's psychological issues, and I'm bracing myself for when they screw it up. Please, please don't screw it up. Excellent, a plot does continue, and my Chinese food got here. Look, it came in one of those big carry boxes. See, here's how I categorize my favorite Chinese places here in Springfield. As I've said, first there's Best Delivery, which is China King, and then there's Best Cheap Chinese, which is Bayou Express at the mall. And then there's this one, the best overall, which is Taipan, a sit-down place that also does carry out Best General's Chicken in town. I was so excited by eating, I almost fell against the wall. Oh, and Raj goes out on a texting date with Lucy, so it looks like that's gonna continue. Good for him. This episode has convinced me that I need my own Sheldon. They just showed him a dirty closet, and he cleaned it. I've been trying to clean out my junk room since we moved in. This is actually one of the best episodes so far, because it lets a pretty dramatic moment and storyline actually happen. Howard finds a letter from his dad who abandoned him, and only Sheldon knows the details of what's inside of it. They each take turns telling Howard what might be in the letter because he doesn't want to know for sure what's actually in it. It's really good acting from Simon Helberg. You certainly feel the friendship in this episode too. More episodes need to let stuff like this happen. Oh, Raj is back to being a drunken, belligerent third wheel. I'd say that maybe this episode was supposed to happen earlier in the season, but I don't know. It's not a very consistent show. Although, again, the episode is pretty good. They're all fighting for tenure at the university, so they have to impress Regina King. It flashes back to Sheldon's slave line, and if the audience didn't see that particular episode, there is no context for that. Hell, in this episode, he buys her a copy of Roots, and in one hilarious scene, he insults Raj by talking about how he banged his mom. I wasn't expecting Regina King to be in this series at all, let alone recurring. Good, Lucy is back and has a date with Raj. Just in time, too. In one scene, he practically makes out with his dog. The hell. Amy, meanwhile, wants to have sex with Sheldon, but he's too busy trying to get a show uncanceled. I understand this. I've turned down many hot nights trying to get Tequila and Bonetti back. Speaking of shows, I do love that Leonard tries getting Penny into Buffy, and she says, you know, it's cute, but needs help trying to figure out why she's not so passionate about the show. Penny is me in 80% of the relationships I've been in. Tequila and Bonetti, though, that show I'm passionate about. This one has a pretty good plot line. Bob Newhart guest stars as a Mr. Wizard type former TV host named Professor Proton. Leonard and Sheldon hire him to do a show for them since they grew up idolizing him, and then they find out that after his show was canceled, he was never really taken very seriously in the science field and had to resort to doing children's parties. That's like if in Ghostbusters 2 they never got their business back. The plot of the episode would actually make for a pretty compelling movie, and of course Bob Newhart's great in it. Oh, and Bernadette screams at Raj, so that was nice too. Howard becomes Dungeon Master in their D&D game, which I think is just an excuse for him to do his celebrity impressions. He's either doing a great Nicolas Cage or a great Simon Helberg doing Nicolas Cage in Studio 60. At first I was like, another D&D plot? Snore. But it is pretty funny when the girls join in and turn it into this drunken Vegas table game, especially because they had just been kicked out of Vegas. And Sheldon and Amy address their intimacy issues, which leads to them having imaginary D&D sex because of a love spell. Ooh, hot! Raj's date with Lucy is normal by comparison, and she bolted out the bathroom window at the restaurant before they had their first kiss. I really do like the Lucy character, but even if I didn't, I would still be like, okay, fine, at least they're doing something with Raj this season. Hell, they even give him a fairly dramatic scene where he cries about being alone, and then when Lucy leaves him, the show finally lets a breakup be sad. He probably lost her around the time he told her, if we don't make it official, I will never be happy again. Woof. Oh, and Leonard is going away on a boat for a couple of months. Why do these season finales always end with a character leaving for a summer? Even though there's certainly some funny episodes here, even a couple of dramatic ones, as far as the plot goes, all you really need to see this season is just the episode where Wolowitz gets back from space, and then when Raj meets Lucy, and then the season finale. It was a pretty light season as far as continuing plot lines go, but you know what? It ended with Raj finally being able to talk to women without being drunk. So hey, they get kudos for that. Huh, I just realized I'm halfway through this series now. Well, not quite done yet though. Still 100 and some episodes to go. Last season ended with something about Leonard on a boat, and Raj can now talk to women without the help of alcohol. That shouldn't have taken 6 seasons. It is sweet how Sheldon hangs out with Penny a lot because he misses Leonard, and then he tries teaching her how to play 3D chess. When she says, "I lost, great, that means it's over." That's me on every game night in which a strategy game is picked. The episode also reminded me that YouTube once had a star rating system for videos. I completely forgot about that. Oh, and Amy gets mad when Bernadette suggests that no one would blame Amy if she decided to hit on someone else. Well, yeah, she's horny and her boyfriend won't touch her. I agree. And Penny once starred in a Killer 8 movie called Serial Apist. I wish that exists. So Leonard gets back to town early and doesn't tell Sheldon so that he and Penny can have some alone time together. And then Sheldon thinks that Penny is cheating on Leonard. It's a lot like the Friends episode where Chandler was hiding the fact that he was back early so that he and Monica could spend alone time together, and then Joey thought that Monica was cheating on Chandler. Howard also gets more feminine here because of an estrogen cream that he was using, which again is a lot like a Friends episode where Chandler got more feminine because of a hypnotism tape he was listening to. And both of the Friends episodes were better than this. This is another one of the Sheldon is a child episodes where he doesn't want to be friends with Leonard anymore because of this. Leonard, just say, dude, I came back a day early so that my girlfriend and I could have some alone time together. Give it a rest. Sheldon even tells Amy, you're either with me or you're against me. What is this, Twitter? This one's pretty entertaining. They're all competing in pairs in a scavenger hunt, so you get to see some duos from people who don't normally share a lot of alone time together on screen. Like Amy and Howard bonding over their love for Neil Diamond. It was a funny episode to watch with Laura because Laura's least favorite character is Bernadette, and all throughout this episode, Bernadette is constantly shrieking and screaming at Leonard because she's really competitive. Laura hates this character. Oh, speaking of, since Raj is the one who orchestrated the whole scavenger hunt, he's not competing in the game, so he's barely in the episode. Sorry, Raj! Ooh, tension. Amy ruins Raiders of the Lost Ark for Sheldon when she tells him that Indy wasn't relevant to the story. Except the Nazi agent wouldn't know where the medallion is if he hadn't have followed Indy, but that's neither here nor there. Also, why would you ruin one of Sheldon's favorite movies that he is clearly very passionate about? Don't take that away from him. Speaking of why, Leonard's mom writes a book called My Disappointing Son. Who does that? And Penny puts on lingerie to flirt with Leonard only to reveal that his mom was secretly there on Skype so that she could have a talk with him about his sex life. Again, who does that? Well, Sheldon and Amy have to work together in the same building, and that does not go over well. But mainly for Howard and Bernadette, and I'm starting to see a little bit why my wife hates her so much. Bernadette goes insane when she finds out that Howard wouldn't want to work in the same place with her. And while I understand the flip side of this, because he is always hanging out with his friends a lot, she's kind of verbally abusive and comes across like one day she might actually shoot this guy. He's terrified of her. But it was funny when Sheldon figures out that the phrase, "don't shit where you eat," isn't meant to be taken literally. Yeah, Sheldon inadvertently discovers a new element, but the main plot is that Howard has written a song for Bernadette for their anniversary. She then gets quarantined because of an accident in her lab, and I forgot that she doesn't work at Cheesecake Factory anymore. It's okay that she's quarantined. If she didn't like Howard's song, she probably would have stabbed him. Penny, meanwhile, proves her love for Leonard by showing him a box of various items that she's collected throughout their relationship. Probably got the idea from when Rachel did that to Ross on Friends. This episode is so romantic. When Sheldon kisses Amy, it turns out it was just an Amy dream sequence. That's normal. Bob Newhart's back, and I do still like the story of this character, this former kids science TV host who now lives in obscurity. Anyway, I want to see this character in his own movie, like a Death to Smoochie style dark comedy, or a Joe Spinell type serial killer movie. Though it does lose me a little when Sheldon gets jealous because Newhart wants Leonard to help him with this science paper of his. So Sheldon brings in Bill Nye, the science guy, to flaunt him as his friend. Hey, look at this random celebrity that I pulled in here. Oh, and that bottle of Obi Life Water, that sounds like the most unthreatening Jedi ever. This one was physically uncomfortable to watch. Leonard has to wear a sweater that's causing him to break out in a severe body rash until he returns a tape to the video store that is 8 years past its due date, and he used Sheldon's card to rent the video. The constant itching was making me want to scratch my own skin off, like I'm watching a sitcom version of Bug, though I know all about renting something on someone else's account and then not returning it. That's what happened to me and Caligula, the Untold Story, back in the 90s. No, this isn't the copy that I rented back then. I lost that copy. Sorry, Buford. This one I later purchased on eBay. Maybe it's the same one. Oh, and Lucy's back, and I like that she seems to be this kind of will they, won't they recurring character for Raj, because that keeps it from just simply repeating the relationships of the other characters. Although Penny tells Lucy that she's a bad person because she dumped Raj via email. The episode ends with Raj yelling at his date because he feels that she is too hot to be single, therefore she must be lying. Yeah, of course she dumped him via email. It's Thanksgiving and Zach, the ex-boyfriend, is back because it turns out that he and Penny got married when they were drunk in Vegas. I do like seeing this actor back, but here he is still dumb, yeah, but he's kind of more of a douchey dumb here. Plus, Howard is having a hard time bonding with Bernadette's dad. Haven't seen that plot 3 times already. Though I do love that her dad Mike bonds with Sheldon because it turns out Sheldon is like Rain Man with football. And I can't get mad at any episode that features the line, "Sheldon, this is inappropriate. You cannot keep comparing yourself to a slave." Plus it ends with drunk Sheldon slapping Amy on the ass and saying, "Get us a beer!" And that turns her on. There was some pretty funny stuff here. This episode ties into the one where Sheldon accidentally discovered a new element, so I'm wondering if it was supposed to originally air a few episodes back. It begins with a previously on. Speaking of timing, this is the 2nd episode this season where they make reference to playing a Batman game, so I'm wondering if one of the Arkham games came out around this time. Anyway, my wife may hate Bernadette, but again, I really don't, because sometimes Howard needs to be screamed at. In this one, he lets Raj stay in their apartment for a week with his dog and he doesn't tell Bernadette about this in advance. That is grounds for divorce. In this, It's a Wonderful Life type episode. They all imagine what their lives would be like if Sheldon weren't around. It shows us these alternate universes, but only their opinion of what they might be, as opposed to this is actually what would happen if Sheldon weren't around. So you get scenes where Leonard wets himself when he asks out Penny. They bring Zach back again, so I guess they got him for a couple episodes this season. And there is a scene where Penny is trying desperately hard to have sex with Sheldon, so I guess sometimes he's in these universes. And much like fat present-day Monica in the Friends alternate universe episode, and that one episode where it showed Joey married to Monica and he was fat because she kept overfeeding him, this episode also features many alternate universe fat suits and binge eating. In my alternate universe, I'm back to being fat snob and still watching The Big Bang Theory. Penny gets a role on NCIS, which she calls NCSTD. That's one NCIS I would watch. But then she's sad when she's cut from the episode. You know, like when Joey was cut from that Law and Order episode. Honestly though, while Friends played that for laughs, this one plays it super serious. Penny gets seriously depressed. She questions her dream of becoming an actress. She gets super drunk and then asks Leonard to marry her, and he says no because he doesn't know how drunk she is. This is like the first really important thing to happen this season, and it's episode 12. Oh, and Bernadette redoes the restaurant orgasm scene from When Harry Met Sally, only with fake laughter. Random! And Howard tells Roz to practice talking to women by going to shopping malls. That is the worst advice anyone has ever given to a character on this show. Whoa, Penny quits the Cheesecake Factory to focus more on her acting career? What am I supposed to do with all of the cheesecake I ordered for this season? Just kidding. We've been ordering out a lot lately, so today we just made spaghetti. It's okay though, last season they were eating a lot of pasta, so it works. Josh Peck is in this episode as a competing comic shop owner, and I liked seeing him show up. Even though I've really only seen him in a few movies, I never watched his show, but I do follow him on Twitter, and he's actually really funny. But whatever, this episode is the only one that this character is in. God, I gotta do something about this. I stink and my facial hair is just growing and growing. It's madness. My whole facial hair was in a dark, dense state nearly 14 days ago. Expansion started. Whoops, I'm stuck. Our boys are in queue for Comic-Con tickets, but they sell out in 10 minutes. You'd have at least an hour. I think this may be a sweeps episode, considering who the celebrity guests are, but it kinda works. Sheldon wants to start his own convention, so he tries getting James Earl Jones as a guest. Turns out, though, that James Earl Jones is insane and keeps pranking Carrie Fisher and wants to go off to Tijuana with Sheldon. He's clearly having a very good time playing an extremely eccentric and partying version of himself. Personally, I think it would be funnier if the one movie of his that he was obsessed with was Exorcist II: The Heretic. So Bernadette takes credit for Howard going into space. I've been binge watching this. She tried stopping him from doing that. Anyway, Sheldon and Amy spend Valentine's Day on board a vintage train. That does sound kind of awesome. Oh, and they have their first passionate kiss. It's kinda like any time Forrest Gump and Jenny kissed. Tanya Raymond, who is Alex from Lost, guest stars as a veterinarian and a possible love interest for Raj. She even gives him her phone number at the end. She is not seen or referenced in the series ever again. Probably because she's a vet and could do better. Whew, didn't think I'd mention space again so soon. The last episode had Bernadette taking credit for Howard going up into space, and this one has him getting an offer to go back into space, and she tries talking him out of it. Admittedly, it was a very traumatic experience for him, but think of it like this. Most of these seasons end with a character leaving for a few months, so they could do that with this again. Clearly, they could use that again for another character's summer hiatus. Oh, and the rest of the episode is something about Leonard getting a new dining room table and Sheldon doesn't like it. Whoa, I just found out about the fake movie Serial Apist, and now you're telling me that they're making a sequel? This is gonna be the best Apist saga since Horrifying Experiments of the SS Last Days. Howard and Sheldon try to become better friends, so they go off on a trip to Houston together, and you know what would be worse than sitting next to one of these two on a plane? Turbulence. A lot of turbulence. I don't like turbulence. Raj wants Amy to set him up with this girl named Emily, so she tells Raj, just be yourself, don't be desperate or creepy. He scared her off by randomly showing up at Emily and Amy's lunch by being desperate and creepy, 'cause that's who he is. Howard and Sheldon are still on their Houston trip, and I'm kinda surprised they're actually following up on this. I figured the end of it would just be them on a plane disliking turbulence. However, Sheldon witnesses his mom having sex and is afraid that this is going to replace the memory of his dead father. And that's the B plot. What's the A plot? Raj has a murder mystery party. Although it does cause Leonard and Penny to have a very serious conversation about what would happen with their relationship if they had to move apart due to him becoming a famous scientist or her becoming a famous actress. You live outside of LA, you'll be fine. Neither one of you has to move away. This episode is simultaneously pointless and not. Ugh. You know that girl Emily that Raj acted like a creep in front of? Well, she wants to date him now. Also, he's seeing his ex, Lucy, at the same time because she wrote to him and says that she misses him. The relationship between Raj and Lucy, I buy that, but when he brings that up to Emily on their first date, she thinks it's cute. The way better plot is Penny's, who gets that part in Serial Apist 2, but is really sad about it because it's a very bad script. She even goes to Will Wheaton for advice. As you do! Since I didn't watch Next Generation, am I one of the only ones that actually thinks of Stand By Me every time I see Will Wheaton? Sheldon's plot, however, is that he can't decide between an Xbox One and a PS4. Pick the PS4. So the actress who plays Emily wasn't in the previous episode, and she's not in this episode either, despite Raj dating both her and Emily. He has to explain how he and Lucy aren't dating anymore. Guess they couldn't get the actress for these episodes. But it turns out that Howard knows Emily from an embarrassing story of his past. I was expecting much worse, but he had a date with her, got diarrhea, went all dumb and dumber on her bathroom, and then abruptly left. They give Howard shit for this on a double date, but you're the one dating Raj. He is 10 times creepier than this, and that's not even one of the worst things Howard's ever done. Plus, Sheldon needs a new field of study since he can't do string theory anymore, so he gets drunk and sleeps with a geology book. I wish I was kidding. Okay, so Raj and Howard find out that Emily is a fan of exploitation movies, and they begin to question whether or not there is something psychologically wrong with her because she's a fan of those films. When they're on a date, Raj straight up says to her, "I question the mental capacity of somebody who would enjoy things like this." Hey Raj, right here, buddy. Right here. Remember that time when you and Howard used satellites to spy on women living in a reality show house? Fuck you, buddy. If anything, they should question why House of a Thousand Corpses is one of her favorite ones. That one's not even that good. Oh, and Sheldon goes to a Miss Cleo-like psychic, Timeless, so she can tell him what field of study to take an interest in. But instead, she tells him that he should probably have sex with Amy. I've been saying this for hours. It's May the 4th, Star Wars Day, and Sheldon says that he is not a fan of The Phantom Menace, despite a few seasons ago he said he loved it. I actually take back that criticism. That's fairly realistic, honestly. Professor Proton passes away, so Sheldon has to deal with death and grief for the first time in his adult life. And I really wish Professor Proton was the spin-off series. A prequel series on that would be awesome! Here he appears to Sheldon as a ghost in his dream, even though he is saying and reacting to things in only a way that he actually would. So that means that in this universe, Force ghosts exist. Alright, again, Lucy and Raj as a relationship, that I bought. Raj and the hot redhead Emily? No. He's upset that he sees Emily out on a date with another person, which, I'm sorry, didn't you do the same thing a few episodes back? Then it ends with the two of them becoming mutually exclusive, and they have sex with each other. This is like an unrealistic version of Roger and Jessica Rabbit. Penny and Will Wheaton, however, are fired from Serial Apis 2 because she wanted to do another take. Yeah, because firing your two leads late into production wouldn't double that movie's budget. It's okay, Will Wheaton gets an audition to be in Sharknado 2. Hope it's not for the role of Trident guy. Oh, and did I forget to mention that Penny and Leonard get engaged in this episode? Yay! Penny and Leonard announce their engagement, and Raj takes that moment away from them by telling everyone that he had sex. Even after some growth with this character, I genuinely hate this guy. But that may not be as bad as the vile contempt that Leonard's mom seems to show for her own son. You should probably disconnect from this person. But it is the season finale, so who leaves for a couple months this time? Sheldon, because too much is changing too soon for him, and he has to stick with string theory. This is a season finale that you only kinda, sorta, need to see. Of the episodes this season that you only really need to watch for story reasons are just Leonard gets back from the boat, the Professor Proton episodes, Raj starts dating Emily, and the engagement episode. Down with 24 episode seasons! Sheldon has been away for 45 days. We see him stranded and stuck in his tighty-whities and creeping out some girl. If it were Raj, she'd be like, ooh, he's cute. Too many things are changing here. Penny debuts her new short hair look. She has to because she has an interview with Stephen Root for a job about businessy business, pharmaceutical sales businessy business. She gets the job because they're both terrified of Bernadette due to her being a bully. That's healthy. Speaking of healthy, Sheldon tells Leonard, I want to have sex with Amy. And the audience very loudly applauds. But then Sheldon says that he was just kidding. Read your audience. Amy is put in the middle of a fight between Penny and Bernadette. That way they can individually talk shit about each other. You see, Penny isn't studying enough for her pharmaceutical sales job, and Bernadette is growing more and more mommy dearest each season. But we finally have a resolution to Sheldon dropping string theory. Instead, he begins to study dark matter, but has to become a professor. No one shows up for his class, so Howard becomes his student. Seems like a dick move. Sheldon didn't really want to teach, that was just mandatory, and now he has to for one guy. Howard gets to throw out the first pitch at an Angels game, and that's a lot to live up to. Back in the 90s, they had actual angels on their team. The real drama is between Leonard and Penny because Sheldon says that he and Amy are the best couple and ranks Leonard and Penny last. Yeah, okay. Sheldon and Amy don't have sex. He constantly complains about having to go on dates with her. He has a celibate 50 Shades style contract, and Amy acts really jealous of Leonard and Penny's relationship because she sees them holding hands and saying nice things to one another. And don't even get me started on the other couples. Leonard and Penny are the most realistic. They win. So, wait, the gang hasn't met Emily yet, even though she and Raj have been dating for at least a couple months now? Sure. Unfortunately, Emily hates Penny because of the time when she and Raj hooked up several seasons ago. Okay, just say you didn't actually have sex. And also tell her about anything and everything Raj has ever done ever just to get this girl away from him. The live-in platonic relationship between Stuart and Howard's mom is sweeter. Oh right, that's a thing that's been going on, and Howard is super jealous because of it. Our boys are tired of the girls constantly distracting them from making an invention, so they get together to find out just how realistic it would be to invent a hoverboard. I like the discussions that they have with how it could realistically work, and then they start debating about the timelines in Back to the Future 2. Though that discussion is ruined by constant jokes about them being grammar Nazis with one another, and whether or not Florida looks like a dick. What's Raj's contribution? He asks what kind of a name is Biff. Thanks, you're endlessly necessary to this series. I kind of feel like this plot is just insight on what this show's writer's room is like. When you binge watch a show like this, it doesn't take very long to figure out the formula of certain jokes and performances. Sheldon says something, a character insults him, and he reacts with this expression. Anyway, Penny and Leonard start arguing about money, so they go to Howard and Bernadette for advice. Great. Witnessing them bicker and her screaming at him, that'll help. This marriage is getting weirder by the season. If you reverse the roles, this is no longer a comedy. This is a lifetime drama about an abusive relationship. Ew. Good, an episode where I'm on Bernadette's side. She gets an offer to do a sexy pictorial in a magazine about hot women in science, and Amy gives her shit about it because she says it makes female scientists look bad. She even goes so far as to getting the article pulled by complaining to the editor about it. This is clearly your problem. Work out your own insecurities on your own damn time. But meanwhile, Billy Bob Thornton plays a crazy doctor to the stars who walks around with James Cameron's kidney stone, has his own private arcade in his basement, which he then locks the boys in because he's in love with Penny. The boys don't mind being kidnapped because, hey, he's got arcade machines. I don't know, this is getting a little far-fetched. Since a majority of the gang missed out on their high school proms, they decide to have their own. There's gonna be some craziness. Bernadette speaks so loud that it causes the dogs in the neighborhood to yowl. Comedy! Should be funny. The actress who plays Stuart's date literally has the last name Lulz. Sheldon, however, does tell Amy that he loves her for the first time, which I didn't realize he hadn't done that yet, but no matter, it is the first important thing to happen this season. And it's in an episode where Emily reveals she has a Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas tattoo and says, I like her because she has her limbs sewn on. Cause that's how horror fans talk. Ooh, even more important things are happening. Leonard is having surgery due to a deviated septum, and Sheldon is super nervous about it. You know those waves of how I feel about this show? Sometimes I hate it, other times I enjoy it, and then back and forth, back and forth. Now I'm just in that phase where I'm like, I feel so emotionless. Let's just please get this show over with. And this is an episode where technically something happens. Raj's parents get divorced. But if it's drama involving Raj, is it really drama? What? It's the final episode of Fun with Flags? I forgot that was also a thing. And there's been 200 plus episodes of it? That's nice and all, but I still have 100-some episodes of this show. Why is the final episode of Fun with Flags a clip show? That's a bigger ripoff than when the series finale of Bewitched was simply just a remake of a previous episode. Stephen Root is back as Penny and Bernadette's boss, cause you gotta at least bring him back one more time. He's here to help Penny tell Bernadette that she's a bully and everyone's scared of her. He's not seen again on the show, so I guess that means Bernadette killed him. When the opening line is, hey Raj, how's your parents? That pretty much guarantees that I won't care about the rest of the episode. It's the Christmas episode of the season, which means that the plot is about a pigeon that gets stuck in the clean air room in the lab. Also, they're having a very Victorian Christmas. Here's hoping they don't serve pigeons, I guess. There is, however, a pretty sweet gift exchange between Sheldon and Amy in a funny subplot that begins with Sheldon saying, I love Amy. Now I need to find her a gift that makes her feel small and worthless. Our boys decide to go shopping with the ladies because it's their turn to pick something to do, and Leonard lets Sheldon know that the only reason that he and Penny aren't living together is because he knows that it would upset Sheldon. My wife would kill me if I did that. Sorry, honey. We gotta live separately. You know how much it would upset Lloyd. Raj, meanwhile, goes to Temple, and Howard asks him, is it anything like Temple of Doom? Yes. A new game is invented called Emily or Cinnamon, in which they take Raj quotes and decide whether or not he was talking about his girlfriend Amy or his dog Cinnamon. I laugh, but you could probably play the same game by taking quotes from me and deciding if I'm talking about my wife or my cats. Wait, that's not true. I've never told Laura, oh, you just a big old ball of pudding. Then at the end, Raj kisses Emily and he has dog hair in his mouth. What? As for the rest, something about Sheldon measuring his own anxiety, and he talks to a talking armadillo on the bus. And that's the normal plot. I'm always impressed when someone takes a bite of their food. Usually they're just kind of picking at it through the whole scene. Anyway, the boys are dealing with an internet troll, and I find it hard to believe that that's the first time that's happened. They even think that joking about banging the troll's mom is going a step too far. That's the tamest comeback to a troll. Oh, and Stephen Hawking turns out to be the troll, because making the troll one of the goblins from Troll 2 would have been only a little bit more far-fetched, and even that's kinda arguable. Well, great. Here I had a bunch of jokes written about Sheldon's email address, the comic shop reopening, and Raj and Leonard randomly bumping into Nathan Fillion in a deli. Seriously, he references Dr. Horrible. That means that Howard and Simon Helberg exist in the same universe as each other. How has this world not exploded yet? But then, Howard's mom dies at the end of the episode, and in one of the show's best moments, Sheldon says something very deep and meaningful to Howard. Sheldon's email address, by the way, is sheldon@bazinga.biz. I know where I'm forwarding my spam now. Howard, who is one notch below Norman Bates in the Mama's Boy department, just lost his mom. So, do you think the episode is going to deal with all of his very serious mommy issues and the effect that that would have on his marriage? No, they lose her ashes at the airport, Sheldon and Penny take an intimacy quiz, and the rest of the group does an escape room with a zombie in it. Grief. And is no one going to point out that the escape room hostess is Bethany, the goth chick from the goth episode? Oh no, Emily is really mad because Raj was snooping around in her apartment. Really? It shocks you that he would do this? That's like now being surprised to find out he has an accent. Sheldon sends in an application to go to Mars to help colonize it, which again, no, save that for the end of the season when a character will have to leave for a summer. I joke, but something interesting actually happens here. We actually see the fourth wall in their apartment. It's right in front of where their desks are. Could that be the first time that's happened in a sitcom? We're back to talking about Howard's dead mom. It's a good thing we took a break for the snooping Raj plot. Don't want things to get too dramatic. They all have a last meal at Howard's mom's house using all of the remaining leftover food from her freezer, and that's just the B-plot. Leonard and Sheldon are fighting because an article didn't mention that Leonard was the co-creator of an idea in a paper that he and Sheldon wrote. Yeah, I'd be mad at that too. That's bad journalism. In the next episode, Leonard sues. He doesn't sue. In this episode, Leonard and Sheldon are invited to a university to speak about the paper they wrote. It's all good. Anyway, some of you may have seen a clip from this episode. There's a popular Twitter video about why someone hates the Big Bang Theory, and he uses a clip from here which shows them referencing things from Doctor Who to Thundercats to Game of Thrones while they're about to have a ping pong match. The basic gist of the video is that the show supposedly only makes references and no jokes. Okay, I've now seen 178 episodes of this show. Are there references for reference sakes? Yeah, sometimes, which Why wouldn't there be? But way more often than not, a high majority of the references they make are a legitimate part of their conversation and well within context. Even in that particular clip, because they are actually playing for a model of the TARDIS, which is in Wolowitz's mom's garage, and they're trying to clean it out. And there's also a reason for some of the other references there as well. Twitter, where context goes to die a brutal death. Howard finds out that he has a half-brother from his dad's other family. They meet for the first time and instantly bond and say that they can't wait to see each other again. This is the only episode that Howard's brother is in. See that? Right there. That is a reason to dislike this show. Also, Leonard's a real dick in this one. On a podcast, he gets upset when Penny gets a chance to audition for a Kevin Smith movie by saying, "Oh, but what about your other job?" She's not quitting her job, it's an audition for a major director. And then he's pissed that she makes more money than him. You need to support your fiance, bro. Our boys have to come up with a way to communicate with aliens in case they ever come to Earth. It's like if Arrival took place in the Good Burger universe. They then get upset because some of them feel that they were left out from particular instances from past episodes, like Sheldon meeting and hanging out with James Earl Jones. Gentlemen, please, you've all led unbelievable lives. For instance, this episode ends with aliens on board their ship discovering Sheldon's message. So, guess aliens exist on this show now. These people spend way too much on Chinese food because, again, they just keep picking at it. Maybe if Amy took the plastic off of her broccoli, she could eat it. As for what I did for lunch, I spent way less than they did. I got the nacho taco box from Taco Bell. It was okay. It was basically just a soft taco with some nachos in it. Look, it's hard for me to find other things to talk about in an episode that's about Howard and Sheldon trying to fix a drone. And Leonard's speech to a graduating class was a little bit like Lewis's speech from the end of Revenge of the Nerds, only this one needed far more cutaways to a sad Stan Gable. So, Sheldon's mom and Leonard's mom meet for the very first time in this episode. What? How have they not met each other before? Well, maybe because whenever Sheldon's mom says something religious, Leonard's cold-ass mom always responds with something like, ugh, pff, pff, Leonard should be proud of his mom for being the villain in every PureFlix movie. It all works out at the end, though, when she learns to hug her son. Why is Leonard's mom a sociopath? In this season finale, there's a big twist. No one leaves for a few months. Raj wants to break up with Emily because she's weird and wants to have sex in a cemetery. Right, she's the creepy one. Leonard and Penny go to Vegas to get married, only he tells her that he once kissed another girl while they were together. Bro! And in a really good cliffhanger, Amy says that she wants a break from Sheldon, and then we find out that he was planning on proposing to her. The last shot of him alone in the apartment holding up the ring was really well done. It makes this one of 4 necessary episodes to watch this season. There's Sheldon coming back from running away. Sheldon tells Amy that he loves her. Howard's mom dies. Also, after Stuart's shopping trip in this episode, I kinda want some crunch berries now. Sheldon and Amy are definitely broken up, which means that he silently stands behind her in the hallway and lurks through the window at her like he's Michael Myers. Then Stuart weirdly rubs her shoulder and gets excited when he finds out that Penny's alone in her apartment. So I guess they're all Ted Bundy now. While Leonard and Penny did get married, they are still fighting because of the whole kissing another girl thing. The only reason that he told her is so we could drag this show out for 4 more seasons. I shouldn't get mad. At least it feels like there's an ongoing plot in motion. That's different. Remember when Raj was wanting to break up with Emily? Well, that has yet to come up again. Instead, he says lines about a coworker like, I'd like to get lost in her Bermuda Triangle, and he's mad at Howard for not telling him about Amy and Sheldon. Bernadette is mad at Howard for telling her about Leonard and Penny's problem. You all are just looking for any reason to be mad. Though it is funny when Sheldon tries making Amy jealous with a bra that he put in her box of stuff. And she has been written out of the relaunched Fun with Flags. Probably for the best, she was the Mark Brendanowitz of Fun with Flags. Leonard and Penny's marriage is over its first hurdle, so they all decide to have a bachelor and bachelorette party. The boys are in a sweet van with shag carpeting, and the girls find out that Amy's mom used to put her in a sin closet. That would have been helpful information to know before the prom episode. Again, I'm really liking that each episode blends into the next one. We're 3 episodes in here, and so far, all of them have been necessary. Ooh, Emily's back. Do they break up? No, she's just there to say that she doesn't like a song that Howard and Raj wrote. Just because other plot lines are moving forward doesn't mean that Raj's ever has to. Speaking of plots moving forward, Sheldon needs a new roommate and Bernadette desperately wants Stuart out of their house. Sheldon and Stuart don't move in together. Instead, Leonard and Penny just stay at Penny's apartment sometimes and Sheldon's apartment sometimes. Sweet, 2 apartments. And speaking of Stuart, I never did get my crunch berries. Probably because I'm stuck with cereal like this. These do not go together in cereal form. You know what one of the hardest things about doing this binge watch is? The titles. Sometimes I have to double, triple, quadruple check to see if I'm spelling them right. There's probably a lot of spelling errors in this, and most of the time, the titles do not help me in knowing which episode it is. Oh, as for this episode, the boys take a fencing class, and the girls help Stuart with not being so creepy. Maybe try that with everyone else too. This is the same episode where Kripke appears to send Amy a dick pic. There's a nationwide shortage of helium, so for their experiment, Leonard and Sheldon have to buy a tank off the black market from Michael Rappaport in a windowless van. There is nothing that could possibly go wrong from the scenario I just described. Seriously, Michael Rappaport's a treasure. I love it when he shows up in things. You know what I don't love? I took one of those which Big Bang Theory characters are you quiz, and I got Sheldon. Apparently it's because I'm a wonderkind who's the smartest one in the room and has trouble connecting. Zimbio does not know me at all. There's some good serious moments here where Sheldon is in a documentary by Adam Nimoy about his dad, Leonard Nimoy, and on camera he has to deal with not being able to propose to Amy before she broke up with him. It even ends with a pretty sad shot where he is about to propose, but then sees her on a date with someone. What's Raj's plot line? Howard and Bernadette are fighting, and Raj is not helpful. You know, Stuart's been getting more screen time this season, and all that really makes me think is, why couldn't Stuart just be the 4th friend? He's a much better character. Stephen Merchant guest stars in this episode as Amy's date, and things don't go well because he turns out to be a Sheldon Cooper fanboy. Plus, Sheldon tries to find someone on Craigslist. There's really no risk of him finding a serial killer, because if there were a killer, it would probably be Raj. In more important news, I prefer BuzzFeed's character quiz because it gave me Stuart. While I never really had a problem dating, the test says that I like showing people things that are awesome, and sometimes my hobbies can get in the way of social gatherings. Getting warmer, internet! Okay, I bought the Adam Nimoy appearance because he was making a documentary with Will Wheaton, and Will and Sheldon are friends. In this one, Howard happens to run into his hero Elon Musk when they're both working in the same soup kitchen for Thanksgiving. What? The other stories are way better. Leonard gets in trouble for reading Penny's diary, and Amy and Sheldon hang out together for the first time as friends. There's a great moment where she wants to get back together, but now it's him who just wants to remain friends. Oh, and they play the game Kiss, Marry, or Kill. That's not what it's called. This is a well done episode. Sheldon is driven insane because of a tune that's stuck in his head, but he can't place what the song is. It was racking my brain on what the song was too. Even I kept trying to think of the right answer. Turns out it was Darlin' by the Beach Boys. I never would have guessed that. I thought it was the Popeye's Chicken theme. Sheldon and Amy get back together at the end of the episode. Sorry, Stephen Merchant. I sort of wish the breakup went on even longer. I like being invested in a story on this show. This episode is really great. It all takes place on opening night to Star Wars The Force Awakens. In a world of depressing fandoms and psycho gatekeeping, it's nice to see characters like this who are happy and they love the things that they love and they genuinely get excited about things. Maybe that's why the internet hates this show. It has optimism. Sheldon really grows in his relationship because he chooses to skip the movie and instead spend time with Amy on her birthday. And the two of them have sex! And that's put in contrast with the movie's audience. It's a really sweet and funny scene. Plus, Sheldon gets a sex pep talk from Professor Proton because, as we've established, Force ghosts exist in this universe. Even though we're past the Amy and Sheldon breakup, and in the last episode, Sheldon and Amy had sex, we still have an episode here that also feels necessary. Stuart finally moves out of Howard and Bernadette's house, and Leonard sees a psychiatrist where he talks about a lot of his issues with his mom. The psychiatrist is Jane Kasmerick, who, damn, keeps looking more gorgeous with each passing year. Like, wow! The episode does end creepy, though, as Stuart breaks into Howard and Bernadette's house to watch them as they sleep. I still like him better than Raj, though, because, if anything, you can tell that the writers actually like writing for Stuart. When Sheldon insults everyone while he's sick, he has to go on an apology tour to hopefully get invited to go on a trip with them. They even get free t-shirts. I really want a Sheldon Cooper apologize to me shirt. The only one who doesn't accept is Emily because Sheldon further insults her. What does Raj do? He screams at her for not accepting, causing her to leave, and then he blames Sheldon for this. You know, I started this series thinking that I'd mostly be complaining about Sheldon, and boy, is that not the case. The scene where Sheldon makes amends with Emily is really well done. If anything, for the line where he tells her that everyone feels she could do better than Raj. We meet Sheldon's Meemaw for the first time, and she's played by Jane Squibb, who was Michael Scott's mom on The Office. Could this possibly mean that they're related somehow? From a 1 to a 10 on the awkward scale, Michael and Sheldon are a racial slur. Ugh. Remember last season where Raj wanted to break up with Emily? Well, that comes up again because he meets a cute girl at the comic shop and then questions his relationship with Emily because of this. Again, Really? It's Raj questioning the relationship. Wait, is it Raj or is it Raj? What's the correct pronunciation there? I don't care. Well, Raj is the one who breaks up with Emily because he wants to be with Claire, the screenwriter, who he met in the comic shop. And of course, he does this right before Valentine's Day. Of course he does. Then when Claire already has a boyfriend, he tries to get back together with Emily, who won't take him back, and then we have to see him sad for a whole episode, as if I'm supposed to feel sorry for him. He ruins the first ever live episode of Fun with Flags. Even though Raj is the main plot of this episode, he is the least important thing in it, because we find out that Bernadette is pregnant. Bernadette and Howard tell everyone the news about her being pregnant, and most of it's very funny, but one thought did occur to me. With that temper, Bernadette pregnant is going to be Fatal Attraction levels of crazy. You know what isn't crazy though? The Play Buzz character quiz. It gave me Leonard because I'm smart, funny, and I love my job. It leaves out one thing though, that I'm also married to someone younger, gorgeous, and miles out of my league. Yep, that settles it. I'm Leonard. This is the 200th episode of the show, and I know normally I would probably be like, oh god, I've had to sit through 200 episodes of this, but they're lucky in that this happens in a season that I like. Though it contains a sitcom cliche I don't like, they all have a first birthday party for Sheldon, and they invite Adam West. There's a scene of them in the car all debating the best Batman. What? How is this happening? We just happen to have gotten in touch with Adam West. Yeah, I know, they pay him to show up, but that doesn't explain why they had to rip off the Pure West joke from The Simpsons. I guess I'll throw in my 2 cents though. Michael Keaton is my Batman. Leonard, Howard, and Sheldon all go through Chili Mac for lunch. Howard, Leonard, and Sheldon go through contract negotiations for a patent on a kaleidoscope guide for drunk people that they came up with. But unfortunately, we still see a lot of Raj in this episode. Emily gives Raj a Valentine's Day gift because she bought it before they broke up, and then calls him crying that she wants to see him again. You know, the guy that dumped her right before Valentine's Day because he had a thing for Claire. Oh, and on the way to see her, Claire calls him to say that she wants to get coffee with him because her and her boyfriend broke up. So he then starts canceling and then uncanceling plans with the two of them. Wash, rinse, repeat over and over again. It ends with he and Emily sleeping together. Even in a season that I like, this character is still a shotgun blast to its goddamn foot. They should probably change the opening credit shot. It still has Penny with her long hair. Anyway, the girls are building the prototype while the boys skip out to see a sneak preview of Suicide Squad. They are so busted, and over Suicide Squad? Oof, I say that, but I didn't even think that movie was that bad. I do like the plot about Sheldon's storage unit of all his old things, and how it's about him letting go of his past. Plus, a lot of the old tech he has is really cool. Well, Penny's hair is getting longer, so I guess it will catch up to the shot in the opening. And does anyone else notice that the laptop that Sheldon is using here is not the one that Amy bought him in the previous episode? The gang goes to a cabin and plays Never Have I Ever, which Never Have I Ever is a game that no sitcom character should play. My biggest takeaway here is that Leonard, already with dark glasses and a green jacket, wears a backwards hat. Like me! I told you I was Leonard, and then he gets shit for it. I don't care. I like my backwards hat. Okay, now Raj is dating both Claire and Emily. Do they know this? Because I doubt it. Isn't this how his relationship with Emily started? And where's Lucy? She was the only relationship of his that actually made sense. Howard then gets pissed at him for this, and Raj tells him that he's just being jealous. No, it's 'cause you're an ass. Though they're all kind of asses in this, it ends with them all looking out the window and taunting Stuart as he rides away on his bike. The Stuart bullying is about as funny as the Jerry bullying on Parks and Rec, meaning it's not funny at all and unnecessary. Crunchberries gets mentioned though. I think the universe is telling me something. There's a pretty good plot here where Sheldon wants to spend time with Bernadette to cheer her up because there's a lot of things that she can't do due to being pregnant. So he introduces her to D&D, where he creates a character specifically tailored for her, and she gets really into it. The other plot, of course Claire doesn't know that Raj is also seeing Emily, and he's lying about it. Of course! Zach is back too, and he's hitting on Claire right in front of Raj. Good! Penny is struggling to make a connection with Leonard's mom, which, yeah, there's cold, and then there's the North Pole. She's pissed at Penny because she wasn't invited to their wedding, which in the Sheldon's birthday episode, she said she was glad that she wasn't there and that she hid her own birthday party from Leonard. You could argue that that was revenge, but she would have done that anyway. I prefer the plot where Sheldon stands up to a line cutter by comparing himself to Rosa Parks. Does the quantum guidance system that they've invented still have something to do with drunk people? Anyway, we meet Leonard's dad, who's played by Judd Hirsch. He and Leonard's mom super don't get along, and it'd be kind of great if he was still playing his character from Dear John, and Christine Baranski was the ex-wife. He super hits it off with Sheldon's mom, though, and they totally bang. I know that I've been saying that there's really only about 4 or 5 episodes a season that you need to see for story purposes, but this season, no, a vast majority of them you really do need to watch, with maybe only a few that you don't. The episodes really do have an ongoing plot that's necessary. I like that. I hope it continues into the next season, especially because it feels like it should be ending, but there's still 3 seasons left. I forgot that the reason the families got together in the season finale was because of another wedding ceremony with Leonard and Penny. Anyway, this one has that ceremony in it. We meet her brother, Jack McBrayer, her mother, Katie Seagal, but what about the people in the pictures on Penny's fridge? I still haven't forgotten about that. I can hear a lawnmower outside. Obviously, someone's not binge-watching Big Bang Theory today. Our boy's quantum gyroscope is under a watchful eye from the military, and Colonel Dean Norris wants to fund it. It should be noted that it's just Howard, Sheldon, and Leonard working on the project. Raj literally says that the only reason he is in the room is because there's a bee in his office. In bigger news, Penny accidentally told everyone at work that Bernadette is pregnant, and Bernadette is super mad about it. I got an idea. Just don't tell her that it was you who told people. There, problem solved. They're under contract to finish the gyroscope in 2 months, or Dean Norris will kill them. And I'm not even talking about his character. I just mean actual Dean Norris, because he's awesome. No worries, they get it extended to 2 years, which will help Sheldon's new caffeine addiction, which was started by the Flash, who, in a dream, was pushing Red Bull onto Sheldon as if he was selling it as a drug in an alleyway. Personally, I'm more interested in the plot where Amy and Penny go to a party over at Brian Posehn's house. I still don't know how there's 3 seasons left. Oh, right, well, they did get their project extended for 2 years. Since Amy needs a place to stay, she and Sheldon try out an experiment to see if they could live together for 5 weeks. Well, what are they going to do the 364 days they aren't having sex? I do love pretty much any scene that shows Sheldon talking in his sleep, as if it's a wet dream, but instead he's giving someone correct answers. Raj, however, keeps hanging out with Howard and Bernadette, and they tell him he's being weird for being oddly obsessed with her pregnancy. Oh, come on, if he's hanging out with people who have plot lines, surely that will rub off on him. I like that Sheldon and Amy temporarily living together is an ongoing storyline, which the thing with them building the gyroscope has been an ongoing plotline this season too, but I don't really care about that plot. At least it's better than this episode's plot about Raj and Stuart breaking into Howard and Bernadette's house to use their hot tub. Stuart is still just a side character who's really only in about a handful of episodes a season. And honestly, Raj would be way more tolerable if that were the case with him. Unfortunately, they are obligated to crowbar him in to every single episode. He has literally nothing to do with any of this season's continuing plot threads. Penny gets invited to be a guest at a Comic-Con, and I must say, I would get a Serial Apist autograph. Though Serial Apist should have a much better poster. It's just a picture of a monkey, and I'm frankly shocked that it even has an MPAA rating. This small convention is fairly realistic, but the joke of, how did you marry her? And then Penny saying, oh, well, you know, he just wore me down. That's getting really, really old. You've done that about a dozen times by now. There's emotional Stuart stuff here too, like when he tells Sheldon, I think of you all as like my family, but I'm not even sure if you think of me as a friend. I'm way more interested in him than I am, well, you know. Fun with Flags now has a theme song? Only took 200 plus episodes of it. There's a funny plot here with Amy hiding the fact that her apartment is ready because she likes living with Sheldon, and Penny is hiding the fact that every day she's moving more and more of Leonard's stuff into storage. Leonard and Sheldon begin talking to each other in Klingon so they can hide what they're saying to the girls, and the girls start talking in gibberish to make up what they're saying about them. It's pretty funny, but then we find out that Raj is still single, so I guess that whole Emily and Claire thing is over. I keep telling myself that I won't mention Raj as much, but in a group discussion, he literally says, I'm really not a part of this. Sheldon wants to have a baby with Amy, and that's the B-plot. Believe it or not, this episode actually has a Raj plotline that works. He has a thing for the university cleaning lady named Isabella, and he sets up a very nice date for them at work. She finds out that he's hiding her job from his friends, and he makes it up to her by explaining everything about himself that she would find embarrassing. It was a self-reflective growth moment, and she agrees to go out on another date with him at the end. But you know how this show still manages to mess everything up? This is the only episode that Isabella is in. So this plot line meant nothing. Sheldon is super jealous that geologist Bert has won a grant for his research. I do like that Brian Posehn's Bert is getting more screen time this season, and I also really like that his name is Bert. But meanwhile, Howard invents a remote control Stephen Hawking toy, and everyone finds it super offensive. Hey, if you're gonna get offended on someone else's behalf, you're supposed to do it on the internet. But since Hawking is actually in this episode, is it cool if I want one of those toys? The painting that Amy commissioned for Penny several seasons ago is back. How does that have more of a follow-up than Isabella the cleaning lady? They figure out a great place for it on the invisible fourth wall that we magically see again in this episode. Since Sheldon and Amy are moving in together, Leonard and Sheldon begin fighting over who gets to keep which possessions. Nothing that a homeless man played by Christopher Lloyd can't solve. Seriously. Speaking of moving, Stuart moves back in with Howard and Bernadette, and he helps them through the pregnancy, and Raj makes things super awkward by being jealous. Considering Stuart was great great at taking care of Howard's mom, why wouldn't he be the obvious choice to help Howard and Bernadette with their baby? Bernadette goes into labor, and they've tried super hard to not know the sex of the baby, so of course Raj blurts it out after he snook a peek at their file. They kick him out of the house, and he's pissed that they let Stuart stay. Yeah, Stuart's a useful character. The third act of the episode is literally about the characters celebrating their accomplishments and Raj being upset because he's got nothing. It's okay, Howard and Bernadette make it up to him by making him the godfather of their child. What? Why? No one would actually do this. The recurring nurse character is in this episode, and she'd make a better godparent. It's the Christmas episode, but because it aired in January, the gang gets together after the holidays to explain what happened in flashback. Sheldon and Amy talk about how they help one another's shortcomings, and Leonard and Penny have a problem with a Christmas tree that has a squirrel in it. Johnny Galecki was in Christmas Vacation. He really should have seen that coming. Also, Pamela Adlon is the voice of Howard and Bernadette's baby. I freaking adore Pamela Adlon, but this makes the baby sound like it's a demon child from the unborn. Leonard and Penny need to put a little romance back into their marriage. I sense some serial apist role-playing in the future. It works out, though, when Sheldon drafts them up their own relationship agreement. I think my wife is drafting up one right now. No more Big Bang Theory binge watching in the future. I don't know what Raj is doing. Something about a squeaky floor. I went to the bathroom during that scene and didn't bother to hit pause. The only way that this character makes sense is if he died in the elevator explosion years ago, and now he's a ghost that only they can see. This is embarrassing. Raj gets together all of his ex-girlfriends because he's confused as to why he keeps getting rejected. If you can't say something nice, if you can't say something nice, I am binge watching every episode of this show. I know why he keeps getting rejected. For instance, he dumped his last girlfriend before Valentine's Day because he wanted to be with someone else. Lucy says that she broke up with him because of her anxiety, and while, yeah, that's true at first, later it was because he was secretly dating Emily behind her back. We find out that they all started dating amazing people after Raj, which, yeah, anyone's gonna look great immediately after this guy. Bernadette goes on her first night out with the girls after giving birth. Why not? What's it been, like a week? The boys, meanwhile, distract Sheldon with a trip on board a historic train to keep him away from the lab. Trouble brews, though, when Dean Norris wants a smaller prototype, so they need Sheldon back. What Dean Norris wants, Dean Norris gets. Me? I want a Hank prequel series immediately. You know what I haven't given any credit to? The show did figure out a creative way to not use establishing shots. Instead, it just shows us images of atoms, and it's never confusing where the characters are. Sheldon and Amy have their first fight since moving in together because he tells his co-workers what their sex life is like. This is a good growth episode where Sheldon learns that some things need to be kept just between Amy and Sheldon, but more importantly, it is an excuse to bring Bert back. Raj mentions that he's no longer with someone he was dating from work, so I guess that's probably Isabella, the cleaning lady. I don't know. They don't mention her by name. This story is mostly about how his dad is cutting him off financially. Oh no. Again, oh no, Raj doesn't have money to blow anymore, so he can't go to Comic-Con. He does get a job at the comic shop though, that way they can dust off that Aquaman costume they put him in years ago. At least they're trying to do some things with this character, but I've seen them attempt that before, and it still doesn't make him likable. Here he's given the money for Comic-Con by Howard and Bernadette, who say that it's for all the things he's been doing around the house. Great, so here's money for nothing, and he doesn't take it because he says he'd feel bad about it since he's the baby's godfather. Don't remind me of that. Now that Raj is broke, he has to move in with Leonard and Penny. So, I mean, now he has an excuse to be around. But of course, it makes Sheldon upset, which causes him to confide in Leonard's mom, which causes her to tell Sheldon about Leonard and Penny's marital problems. The truth of any of those circumstances aside, good God, Raj is a toxic person. When Leonard and Penny start fighting, he sneaks into Howard and Bernadette's bedroom. Now he's stealing Stuart's material. Don't worry though, he tells them, I don't want to be a burden on my friends. Well, it's a little hard not to talk about Raj this season because it's a very Raj-centric season. And while there's been a lot of characters on the show that I started out hating, and then they grew or I totally just turned around on them, I've had 10 seasons of hating this character. I doubt that'll change. In this one, he and Penny start doing a lot of things together, like montaging, and Leonard gets really jealous because he thinks Penny is stealing Raj from him. What? It's like getting upset that someone stole a terminal illness from you. I don't know, Sheldon is trying to divide his time between Amy and the guy's invention, and then he gets drunk and sick. He loses his notebook, but bartender Joel Murray has it. Sorry, I was distracted in this episode because I posted the Gotti Snob episode today, and it got hit by a music copyright. So we'll see how that goes, and given that I'm already annoyed, I'm really not in the mood to hear Soft Kitty. I'm in a slightly better mood. This was a very Bert-centric episode. He starts dating a girl who's only into him for his money, plus she's Elastigirl from Doom Patrol. If she can figure out a way to write out Raj and replace him with Bert, then she's a keeper. Okay, back to the copyright thing. Usually they tell you exactly what the clip in question is. That way, if need be, you can easily snip it out. But this time, they aren't even doing that. I don't know where My City Was Gone plays in the movie. Oh, and Bernadette yells at the baby to "Look at me, damn it!" when she drops her off at the daycare center. That's a shock. Zach is back again. This time he's engaged and offers Penny a job at his firm. His jokes are so stupid, but man, the actor's still good. This is a Leonard's an ass episode though. He gets really jealous of Zach and even calls Penny stupid. Although she doesn't get the job at the end because Zach's fiance was so much against the idea that she threw a shoe at him. Does she beat him? More importantly, I see pictures of Leonard and Penny on the refrigerator. I guess that means that when she moved into Leonard and Sheldon's apartment, all the pictures of strangers got thrown away. Our boy's gyroscope invention comes to an end when the military secretly takes it from them. But I'm way more interested in that Raj is moving in with Bert. That means that if Raj scenes automatically include Bert, then okay, yay, more Raj! In other news, Amy is offered a summer position at Princeton, and Sheldon isn't sure what to do, but he shouldn't be surprised. The next episode is the season finale. There's gotta be a character that goes away on a summer hiatus, and I think it's Amy's turn now. Rikki Lindholm comes back. She played the grad student in season 2 who had a huge thing for Sheldon. I think she and Lucy should start a band together. Anyway, Amy is jealous of all the time she and Sheldon are spending together, and the rest of the group tries really hard to keep her from making a move on Sheldon. This all leads to a pretty great ending when Ricky Lindholm kisses Sheldon, and then he immediately flies out to Princeton to propose to Amy. This season, like season 9, does contain a lot of continuing storylines. Granted, I really didn't care about the gyroscope thing, and I certainly didn't care about the Raj plots, but the ending really did make it worth it. Sheldon proposed to Amy, and she said no, and he ran off to cry, and the series ended. Just kidding, she said yes. But then he makes an ass of himself in front of her colleagues when he only wants to talk about himself. Guess they get divorced in this episode too. That's not the only big thing that happens. Bernadette is pregnant again. We gotta stretch this out for 2 more seasons, so might as well do a pregnancy plot again. Could be worse. She and Howard could be doing the 4 and 4 like Sookie and Jackson on Gilmore Girls. Ha! Reference! Is it 7 months later? Bernadette got really pregnant really fast. Yes, I know she was pregnant in real life, so that shows me. Leonard is in deep trouble for talking shit about his work and physics in an interview, and now he has to apologize for it or he loses his job. Oh, what would Chuck Lorre know about an actor talking shit about their work? This is kinda resolved at the end. Plus, Sheldon forgets that he himself enjoyed Phantom Menace at the beginning of the series. Amy is very concerned about Sheldon's sleep talking. Are they just now realizing that he does this? That's been one of my favorite things about the character since the series started. I like that this all culminates in a bunch of different Sheldon personalities, all having a council inside of his head. Oh, and there's a Raj plotline here. He and Stewart are fighting over the affection of a girl who started working with Bernadette. Whoever wins, she has a 50-50% chance of losing. It'd be way worse to end up with Raj. Howard and Bernadette find out that they're having a boy. May as well find out now. Raj would just ruin it for him again. This is a Leonard's mom episode. Shocker, she's cold and sociopathic in it. They try humanizing her a little bit because she becomes friends with Penny, but then when Leonard calls, she answers like, "Oh, hello, Leonard." He straight up asks why she's never been proud of him, and she answers with, "Well, why don't you think I'm proud of you?" Probably because she treats actual dog shit better than her son. I really don't like this character. Sorry, I had to take a break between these episodes to go talk about the Clownado trailer. Spoiler, it does have a tornado and it does have clowns. Howard and Amy start working together in the lab and it's making people jealous. I feel like "it's making someone jealous" is a phrase that I use a lot to describe these episodes. It's even making Raj feel lonely. Raj would feel lonely upon someone just taking a nap. Bernadette actually says to him, "Oh my god, you're still here?" Says everyone. I do like when Penny uses a parenting book to do reverse psychology on Sheldon, and it works. Someone should have had a baby years ago. I like that even though the character has died, we still get Professor Proton episodes. They want to reboot the Professor Proton show, and since my wife missed those episodes earlier, her response was, "Who the hell are they talking about?" Will Wheaton gets the job. It won't be as good as his role in Serial Apis 2, but Bob Newhart does show up in Jedi form again. He says he's just a figment of Sheldon's imagination, but he is reacting too realistically. You can't fool me. Force ghosts exist in this universe. I'm so happy. I knew the word geology in the title would mean that it's a Bert episode. Sheldon helps him with a project, but wants to keep it a secret as if he's hiding an affair. I didn't know that I needed a slow motion gaze at Brian Posehn while Almost Paradise is playing until now. Unfortunately, it's also a Raj episode. Remember Bernadette's co-worker Ruchi, who Raj weirded out earlier. Well, she wants him now and they have sex. He says he doesn't have experience with casual relationships. Yeah, you do. You just screwed all of them up. Sheldon is seeing the military behind our boy's back, and I too would be furious if someone else got to hang out with Dean Norris besides me. Unfortunately, this is also a Raj episode. Ruchi is trying to steal Bernadette's projects while she's pregnant, and that's not even what breaks her and Raj up. In bed, he tells her, "We are in a relationship, so deal with it." Well, at least this love interest got an ending, unlike Isabella the cleaning lady. This one's really good. The boys find out that they could be rich due to a Bitcoin, but they have to find out where the laptop is that it's stored on. It flashes back 7 years, and a lot of that works because we get to see how far the characters have come over the years. And because Jim Parsons doesn't age, he can easily play 7 years younger. And I mean, well, most of the characters have grown. It does remind us of those seasons where Raj couldn't talk to women. Guess what? Even though he can use words now, he still can't talk to women. You seem to forget that waitress Bernadette didn't quite have the Karen Walker voice yet. Zach is back in this episode too, and I think he may be a peeping Tom. What is with the Raj plot lines this season? They all suck, and there's so many of them. And this is in an episode where Sheldon and Amy almost get married, and that's the B-plot! That's another phrase I'm using a lot, and that's the B-plot! Get this, Raj dumps Howard as a friend because he blames Howard's taunts and Howard's negative energy for his own life failures. Really? 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 This guy can eat a dick. Take responsibility. You suck. You know who needs way more plot lines? Penny. She is still the most relatable character on the show, and Kaylee Cuoco's comedic timing is brilliant. And my wife took all of those same character quizzes that I did, and she got Penny on all of them because, well, I mean, yeah, of course. So we're carrying the Raj and Howard fight over into another episode, huh? Okay. Even Leonard asks, is this still going on? This fight needs to end or get more entertaining. And please, Raj is writing off Howard because of his taunts, as if Raj hasn't taunted and mocked every other character on this show as well. This is the last character that needs to claim some kind of moral authority, and that includes back when Howard was a sleazebag at the beginning of the series. Goddamn. This is one of the worst main characters I've ever seen on an otherwise okay sitcom. Just when I was about to be like, this season isn't very good, this episode is really funny. Sheldon and Amy are deciding on who to make his best man and her maid of honor, so they put their friends through a series of tests and obstacles to see who wins. Even Raj has a funny line in this one. Granted, as funny as the episode is, I don't really see how the plot is really that much of a predicament. Obviously, Leonard would be Sheldon's best man, and considering in her first couple of seasons, Amy couldn't go a scene without calling Penny her bestie, yeah, Penny should be her maid of honor. Plus, the episode could use a clownado. Is Raj still living with Bert? They haven't really referenced that at all, and I distinctly remember saying that I would be okay with a Raj plot so long as Bert was there. And well, luckily Bert is in this one. He replaces Howard in Howard and Raj's band Footprints on the Snow. Footprints on the Moon. Oops, sorry. Anyway, no, Howard's not the character Bert's supposed to replace. Granted, the scenes with Bert and Raj do work. Maybe it's because Raj looks a little like Ernie. Plus, Raj did grow a little bit after that fight with Howard. He changed his hair. Seriously, that's all that came out of that. Okay, maybe the hair change did work. He's working a sweet job now at a planetarium where they put him in fancy suits, and he actually does look a little suave. He starts dating Beth Bears from Two Broke Girls, and I actually buy that. Unfortunately, she's married to Walton Goggins in this episode, so Raj is gonna die. But are you telling me that a simple change in hair and clothes could have made this character more tolerable? The only times he annoys me here are when he puts that dumb old jacket of his back on, and when he's a nosy dick to Beth Bears about her ex-husband. Only so much a suit can do. Really glad for the previously on because I completely forgot that Leonard was writing a book. But I did remember that Will Wheaton is the new Professor Proton. As far as Next Generation alumni shows go, I'm picturing that this new Professor Proton is like America's Funniest People to Reading Rainbow's America's Funniest Home Videos. I am more impressed with how Sheldon does grow over the course of the series, like in this one where he goes through great lengths to understand empathy. Also, I think Leonard wants to bang his own mom. Oh, and that whole thing about him writing the book, well, that's dropped at the end of this, so thanks for the previously on. This is among the hardest I've laughed at one of these episodes. I mentioned before how I hate getting stuck playing some strategy game, and this one has Sheldon making them all play the world's most complicated game, Campaign for North Africa. It's a ridiculously long and precise game from the 70s. Watching him describe this and be so focused on it and knowledgeable of all the rules and so excited while everyone's just sitting there bored to tears, it really was killing me. This episode also smoothly mixes in drama because Bernadette goes into labor in it, and we also find out that her dad is dying. This is a really great one, and I never ever want to play this game. Oh my god, I forgot something from last season. I had a microwavable pork chop for lunch, and this season, Kaz's Pizza, I've heard good things about it, and yes indeed, it was very good, and the cheesy bread was delicious. Howard and Bernadette are deciding on who is going to be the stay-at-home parent. It probably shouldn't be Bernadette, otherwise that Ruchi stealing her project story was all for nothing. Also, I'm pretty sure that Howard and Bernadette can afford a nanny. Yeah, Bill Gates is in this episode, and Leonard meets him in the hotel lobby, but I'm way more curious about whatever happened to that laundry shirt folding thing that Sheldon had earlier in the series. And next time I'm in front of an apartment building, I'm gonna have to remember the line, you know what they say, hold open the door and get robbed some more. The episode was fine. I did like the ending where Sheldon walks in on Leonard surrounded by candles with romantic lighting and holding flowers and thinks that it's an apology for him. But I miss Bert! At this point, I wonder how many people are still watching me talk about this. I could probably say just about anything, but I won't. It would be funny, though, if someone got this close to the final season and was just like, I don't need to see him talk about this anymore. What? You don't want to hear about Leonard running against Sheldon for president of the Tenants Association? Or Howard and Raj finding a drone in their backyard which belongs to a hot girl? 'Cause of course it does! Bachelor and bachelorette party time. The girls get shit-faced while the boys go to a cabin in the woods that's owned by a crazy string theory scientist played by Peter MacNicol. Somehow Sheldon is going to get possessed by Vigo. How come they get to hang out with Peter MacNicol, and on my bachelor party, all we did was just drink an entire bottle of Glenlivet? I was hungover for an entire week. I never thought it would go away, and honestly, I'm not quite sure if it has or not. Maybe I'm just used to it. I think that's what makes binge watching very easy for me. I like seeing business pick up at the comic shop because I do want good things to come Stewart's way. Neil Gaiman starts shopping there, so that puts the store on the map. Plus, we see Lauren Lampkis's character for the first time. She plays the new comic shop clerk Denise. That's way better than the other plot. Penny discovers a comet, she sees it, she knows it's something, and she takes a picture of it. But Raj takes credit for it because it was his telescope and also because he's an ass. Leonard won't even stand up to him. Stop enabling this creep. Another thing I feel like I've said before. But back to the other plot. Much like Slavery and Rosa Parks, it was amusing to see Sheldon compare his situation to the fictitious city of Wakanda. We've come a long way in this series, from disliking certain characters to liking them, from focusing on product renaming to not. And now more couples are getting married! And not yet though, they still need to buy the dress. Amy picks out a wedding dress that the other girls hate, which they probably should have figured she would have picked something out that they wouldn't want. She almost returns it, but then keeps it when Sheldon gushes over the dress and tells her how beautiful she looks. It's a really cute scene, and to see them grow as a couple and him as a person, it's felt really genuine. Jerry O'Connell plays Sheldon's brother Georgie, who is also a doctor, in that he goes by Dr. Tire and runs an auto shop. I really want that cardboard standee in the store of Dr. Tire. I really hope Jerry O'Connell gets invited to the wedding. That way he and Will Wheaton can share a scene together and go off to look for a dead body. Drama! It's the Sheldon and Amy wedding episode, which means it is very sweet and also a little gimmicky. Some casting is great. I love the casting of Kathy Bates and Teller as Amy's parents. Then Howard just so happens to find Mark Hamill's missing dog, who just so happens to agree to officiate the wedding. What? I mean, he's got some good lines, but what? That's a little much, and I live in Springfield, Illinois, where last year David Harbour officiated a wedding. Plus, you had Jerry O'Connell and Will Wheaton in the same room and you didn't have them exchange any lines. It was a Stand By Me, Vern and Gordy reunion. But I'm going to assume that the strangers in the audience are the strangers in Penny's pictures. Ha! Mystery solved! One season left. One season left. For some reason, since this is the last season, I just have a hunch it's gonna go really, really slow for me. Sort of like when you're in the last hour of a 12-hour shift at work. Sheldon and Amy may be away on a honeymoon, but things are still stupid at home. Raj gets invited on television to talk about a meteor shower, and he makes an ass of himself by insulting Neil deGrasse Tyson for no reason. If you want me to stop harping on this character, then you should probably fix him. You have one more season to do so. I am highly disappointed that they have not changed the opening credit shot of them eating Chinese food. It's been the same for several seasons. You should have done something different for the final season. Like, I don't know, them eating Jack in the Box or whatever. I'm enjoying that Stewart has a love interest in Denise, the comic shop clerk. Plus, I like the Sheldon and Amy plotline, where they go on a fake scavenger hunt because of a confusing wedding gift. Raj agrees to an arranged marriage set up by his dad. Why not? I'm curious to see how he'll mess this up. Penny drops the bomb that she never wants to have kids, and Bernadette is a condescending bitch about it. Leonard may be sad, but she makes it up to him by renting him the 60s Batmobile. I remember when my wife and I got in a fight, she got me Kit from Knight Rider. Raj almost doesn't agree to the arranged marriage due to him being a hopeless romantic. So because of that, his new fiancée Anu proposes to him instead. Oh, whatever. What are my predictions for the finale? Well, Penny will probably be pregnant, and most series finales usually have some character moving away. boys find out that Sheldon had a former best friend named Tam, who he now hates. Normally I would be like, why are we just now finding out about this person? But since it's Sheldon, no, it's believable that he'd keep people from his past a secret. The engagement of Raj and Anu is still on, so the girls take her out to get to know her better, but then they end up telling her embarrassing things about Raj. Hey, if she's still down with marrying Raj after hearing his flaws, then, well, she's probably a masochist, I guess. I'm enjoying the fact that even though they're now married, Sheldon is still very much growing as a romantic partner. And there's some good callbacks in this episode too. A joke from several years ago had Sheldon condescendingly explaining the word condescending to Penny, whereas here he's condescendingly explaining the word mansplaining to Amy. Plus, the last time we saw Professor Proton, he wished that he and Sheldon could meet in a deli instead of on Dagobah. So here, they are meeting in a deli that's still on Dagobah. I like any scene where a character says, "This person came to me in a dream and gave me the advice I needed." See? Force Ghost Professor Proton is real. Sheldon wouldn't know to give that advice. And if I was in the planetarium audience when Raj told Howard how much he cares about him, I'd think it'd end with them banging. It's Halloween and Howard dresses as Sheldon. It's a good thing he didn't use the official Sheldon Halloween mask. Have you seen that thing? It looks more like Lee Harvey Oswald. I tend to like these kind of plots, like Joey dressing as Chandler on Friends, or Niles dressing as Martin on Frasier. He ends up hurting Sheldon's feelings, and that was done better on Frasier, but it's okay here too. Sheldon's offended by it, and others talk about how much he can dish it out but not take it. This is way better than when Raj was mad at Howard last season. Sheldon just simply has his feelings hurt, whereas Raj was trying to blame Howard on everything that's wrong with his life. It works out at the end. They try showing Sheldon John Carpenter's Halloween for the first time. But judging by the version of the theme they're playing, I think they're starting with Halloween 2. Leonard is in charge of giving out extra grant money, and Penny is super turned on when he gets power hungry and likes stamping denial on the applications. He's this close to going, "I, Caligula Caesar, command in the name of the Sun and the people of Rome." This season's fine so far, but really there's not much in the way yet of a continuing storyline. The Raj and Anu stuff could have easily replaced his stories from last season. Seasons 6 through 8 really only had a few necessary plot episodes each, so you really could have condensed those seasons. Long story short, this show didn't need to be 12 seasons long. It's kinda just chugging along at this point. Oh, sorry for the trying to quit smoking again, so... But do they have to make these so big? Sheldon is on the right side of history. He sees the trailer for the new Grinch film and says it looks terrible. Sheldon attempts to get to know Amy's father better, but her dad warms up more so to Howard. We've already seen this plotline a few times, where the in-law likes the friend better. Howard's father-in-law bonded better with Sheldon a few seasons back, and Leonard's own mom clearly likes Sheldon better. But if this means more episodes featuring Teller, then I'm okay with that. I like that Howard teaches Teller about magic, and Teller ends up being so bad at it that he accidentally slices his hand open at the end. Plus, Raj and his fiancée have sex. Talk about a magic trick. Bah! I didn't mention this during the Amy and Sheldon wedding episode because I didn't think it would come back. But during the wedding, they ended up coming up with this idea that could possibly change the course of history. But in this episode, it ends up being debunked and they go into a depression. Sheldon should be happy. He prosecuted Ted Bundy. I'm assuming he's the same character he played in that Zac Efron movie. I do like the plot where Bernadette tries to get better at Fortnite in order to beat Howard. When my wife wants to beat me at a game, she just puts in Super Smash Brothers and kicks my ass. Then when I lose at Fortnite, I just play GoldenEye, because I know that in GoldenEye, I can shoot someone in the head without them building a house in 2 seconds. Well, it makes sense that at some point we'd get a crossover with the spin-off series Young Sheldon via flashback VHS tape. Sheldon is still depressed that he and Amy's paper was debunked, so he gets a little help from the past. The VHS tape of young Sheldon giving his future self advice is gonna clear up everything. And the text on the screen doesn't need to remind me that young Sheldon is coming up next. He's literally sitting there on the screen. And does Sheldon not realize that his dad is the same person as Jimmy Speckerman, Leonard's school bully? I'm gonna have to binge watch Young Sheldon as well, aren't I? Alright. When that series wraps up, I'll do a video on that one too. Sheldon and Amy are celebrating because they figured out a way to fix their idea, and now they're labeled as geniuses. Well, that predicament certainly worked itself out rather quickly. Amy gets credit for it, though, in an article that does not mention Sheldon in its headline. We've already done this plot too with Leonard and Sheldon. Though this time it's happening in a paintball game where Raj and Anu seem to break up. He spies on her and sees her giving her ex-boyfriend back his stuff and then screams at her in a jealous rage. Good job, Anu. You really dodged a bullet there. I'm sure she'll be back. And she's back. Raj shows up at her door to say, "We've both made mistakes and we should both apologize." Dude, you spied on her and then screamed at her afterwards. Whatever. They get back together, only now they're just dating instead of being engaged. Sure. Zach is back though. Remember how Penny said that she never wants kids? Well, Zach and his wife can't conceive, so they want Leonard to be the sperm donor, which they agree to at the end. Okay, that one I really didn't see coming. My Penny getting pregnant prediction might not come true. With Sheldon and Amy's paper being proven right, they could be up for a Nobel Prize. What's the paper on? Something called super-asymmetry? I don't know what that is. But they may have to share the prize with two other physicists played by Sean Astin and Kal Penn. Sean Astin discovered a living caveman back in the early 90s, and Kal Penn discovered White Castle. Unfortunately, if they do it as a group, they would have to phase out Amy, so I believe that Sheldon and Amy are now competing against Sean Astin and Kal Penn. There's a conversation between the guys that I like where they can't figure out a TV show to talk about because each of them are a different number of episodes behind. Hey guys, I could talk to you about the Big Bang Theory. I'm all caught up on that. Did I say there were a lot of unnecessary episodes this season? Well, here's another one. Howard and Bernadette visit Andrew Daly at the city planning office because their neighbor's balcony is encroaching on their property line. Then Sheldon wants to report Howard and Bernadette's back patio. And Leonard is sad that no one wants to use the laser that he bought using the extra grant money. Honestly, maybe this episode was important. If anything, to find out that Bert calls his table saw Terry Bradshaw. They mentioned Bernadette's dad in this one, which made me remember, wasn't her dad supposed to be dying? Well, I went back and she told Howard that she wanted to name their baby Michael because her dad was dying, and he goes, "Really?" And she says, "Someday." I must have looked away from the screen for 2 seconds. That's a hell of a thing to miss the context of. Anyway, earlier Leonard agreed to be Zach's sperm donor, but now he's decided against it. Well, glad that was a thing for a couple episodes. I guess my Penny getting pregnant theory is still on. I'm assuming this is a sweeps episode. There's enough celebrity cameos here, enough to where this could be the cast list for the series finale. The boys find out that Wil Wheaton has private D&D nights with William Shatner, Kevin Smith, Joe Manganiello, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Sure. The jokes are along the lines of William Shatner says a con pun and Kevin Smith says, "What, Bill? Dollar in the Star Trek jar." But hey, celebrity cameos! Sure, it makes sense. Wil Wheaton would probably have a celebrity D&D night, but man, this episode is so gimmicky it might as well air after the Super Bowl. Bernadette and Penny go to a pharmaceutical convention to promote their anti-inflammatory drug, where Penny gets an offer to work for a much larger competing drug company. Naturally, even just being offered this causes Bernadette to go on a psychotic tirade at Penny about it. Sometimes plot lines like this are worth it just to see my wife shout at the screen, "God forbid someone do something you don't like, you mean spiteful, vindictive bitch!" Me, I like her better than Raj, but my god, this character is too over-the-top, mean, rage-filled, and selfish. Sheldon and Amy must prove that Kal Penn and Sean Astin are imposters who do not deserve the Nobel Prize. That's plenty hard when they're booked on Ellen because apparently every guest in the world was bumped that day. Instead of singing "Let's Get Physical," they sing "Let's Get Physicists." Here's the Nobel Prize in embarrassment. Meanwhile, Stewart and Bernadette create a children's book based on Howard called The Frightened Little Astronaut. What? He has a problem with this? Why? It doesn't seem emasculating in the slightest. Oh, don't worry. By the end, he's fine with it, 'cause Bernadette. Amy and Sheldon are in trouble because she called Penn and Astin phonies in front of a group of Nobel judges. Kal Penn just reminded me, Penn and Teller. Where's Teller? I guess he's not in this anymore. And why is Amy and Sheldon in trouble for this? The Sean Astin and Kal Penn characters are phonies. Laura has a theory, though, that Sheldon will step down as Nobel Prize nominee. I don't really have a theory on that, mainly because I'm very distracted. I filmed this right after shooting the video where I tried a deep-fried Oreo from Popeyes, and I can still feel some of it in my teeth. Oh, but there's a moped subplot. Howard buys a moped because it reminds him of his youth, and Bernadette screams at him about it. She manages to find a way to make solid points, yet still make me side with the other person, because this isn't funny. It's not a rational conversation they're having. It's straight up verbal abuse. It's so weird that there's only a few episodes left because I'm like, where is this going? And I don't mean that as in, oh my god, where's this going? I mean, where's this going? Only a handful of these episodes have been necessary. All the important parts could be condensed into just maybe 6 or 7 episodes. Though it is weird to now be caught up with the series to the point to where they're referencing today's movies like Endgame. For me, only a few days ago, they were excited that Avatar was coming out. Here, Leonard learns to stand up for himself. That shouldn't have taken 12 years. But he gets to co-lead a research team, and I have no idea if that's gonna factor into the remaining episodes. Sheldon and Amy find out that Dr. Sean Astin plagiarized his thesis, but they are struggling with whether or not to use that against him so that they can win the Nobel Prize. Yeah, use it. As I've said, the character is a fraud. It all works out because Dr. Kal Penn uses it against him, and it turns out he's also banging Dr. Sean Astin's ex-wife, and one of them gets tea thrown in their face at a restaurant. Oh boy, I thought I was gonna have to wait for the premiere of the Kim Cattrall nighttime soap Filthy Rich to get this much drama. Now we're getting into some final season tropes. Anu is offered a management position, but oh no, it's in London! Does this mean that Raj is gonna be the one who ends up moving? No, Howard stops him from leaving because they have a rom-com moment in the middle of an airport. So I guess those two end up together. And Leonard finally stands up to his sociopathic mother. That also shouldn't have taken 12 years. Their final moment together is very dramatic, and it is somewhat touching, except that even in this episode, she says and does so many wretched things that any normal person would have thrown her out of the apartment. But Johnny Galecki gives a super emotional performance, so the acting makes it work. Even if this should have happened seasons ago, there are far too many episodes of Leonard's mom being a toxic shit stain. So much so to where this hug at the end, it's not enough. There needed to be more. The episode opens with a previously on that shows important events all throughout the series. Oh, believe me, I remember. I was there. But adding random, nonsensical moments to it was a nice touch. Sheldon and Amy win the Nobel Prize, but what's the biggest thing to come out of the episode? Well, we do see the front of their apartment, and the elevator finally gets fixed. Sheldon has an incredibly hard time adapting to change, from the elevator to Amy's makeover, and I, for one, am gonna have a hard time adapting to change myself. The hell show am I gonna talk about next? The irony is not lost on me that in a show that I started out not liking and then warmed up to has a final episode that's literally called Stockholm Syndrome. And because they've been without an elevator for so long, clearly means that they've forgotten how to use one. You can make multiple trips with all that luggage. Going into the finale, I was really worried that it would be very over the top and gimmicky and maybe even a little bit meta, but it really isn't. This is a very, very character-based finale. Oh, and Penny's pregnant, so I called that one, though no one is moving away, so it avoided that finale trope. She's suddenly cool with having kids now, I guess. When Sheldon reacts not in the best way to the pregnancy news, among other things, his friends don't want to watch his Nobel ceremony. So the finale really is all about Sheldon adapting to change, and also coming to terms with the fact that he really has been a burden on all of his friends over the years. His speech is made up of him finally acknowledging them and thanking them for all the help and support they've given him over the years. And he pays them all of the compliments and respect that they've certainly wanted for a very long time. Except for Raj, who he really only mentions by name, he has monologues for everyone else but him. And Raj really has no storylines in this finale, except that he sees Sarah Michelle Gellar on the plane and she is his date at the ceremony. Yeah, that was stupid, and it is the only gimmicky moment in the thing, but it really only makes up about 1% of the finale's running time. It's a serviceable last episode that certainly has a lot of heart, and it is all about friendship and how far these characters have come over the years. Which is exactly what it should be. In a season that wasn't very good, the ending was a nice send-off. Good God, I stink. I feel like Chuck Lorre gets mentioned a lot with this series, and there are many of his shows that I'm not a huge fan of. But The Big Bang Theory is also created by Bill Prady, who's worked on everything from You Can't Do That on Television, to Gilmore Girls, to The Muppets, to Dream On, to Married with Children. So between Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady, maybe that explains why there's some stuff here that I like and some things I don't. Having watched the entire series, the amount of hate that gets thrown at the show is a little unfair. Even when the show announced its ending, people rejoiced by saying things along the lines of, "Our long national nightmare is over!" Yeah, I'm sure that it really affects you that a show that you didn't watch is ending. For the past 12 years, I have heard countless times from countless people saying that this show is nothing but, quote, nerd blackface. Stop, okay? Just stop. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that geek culture is above jokes. The characters in the show are highly intelligent. They have successful careers. Many of them are doctors, and most of them have successful love lives and families. You know, like blackface. Also, I work online. Trust me, you do not want to see a show that actually does focus on extreme negative stereotypes of geek culture. Do you know how cynical and depressing and hate-filled that would be for a lighthearted sitcom? These characters relish in the things that they love. They get excited for new content, and they are there for each other throughout their lowest of lows. Most of them completely grow as people in their professional lives and in their love lives as well, learning to communicate better and to be more human. Is the show stereotypical? Yes! Why wouldn't it be? It's a sitcom. The question is whether it does it well or not. Sheldon Cooper is a very memorable character, and Jim Parsons is brilliant in the role, and Leonard Hofstadter is a good straight man. And Penny could easily just be this airhead who simply knows nothing of nerd culture, but she isn't. She's a relatable person with very real issues. On the negative side though, Raj, just Raj. The show is like a poor man's Frasier. Like how that show deals in stereotypes of the pretentious opera crowd and psychiatrists, this one focuses on geeks and nerds and people with not the best social skills. While Frasier is one of the best sitcoms of all time and cut through those stereotypes by letting every issue have weight and depth, and it could treat its predicaments incredibly seriously, thus rendering its characters as real human beings. This show is light. It's very, very, very light. If Frasier is Pixar, this is Hanna-Barbera. There's not a lot of drama here that's treated with the weight that it should be. Most of it's instantly solved, and even when it is present, there are important things that happen off-screen or in between episodes. There are genuinely funny moments and funny episodes, but there's a lot of them that are very pointless due to the sheer volume of episodes. The bad characters, like Raj, really bring down the show's quality as well. There's also other things that do this kind of world better, whether it's a show like Spaced, or movies like Free Enterprise, or the early Kevin Smith films. Because of that, it's not a great show, but it is perfectly serviceable as a background show. It's nothing that I would seek out again, and clearly the person outside mowing his lawn would rather be doing that than watching reruns of The Big Bang Theory. But it's good for a hotel show. If you're away on a trip and it's on, fine. I can see why people would hate it, because for a while I did, since I would just catch random episodes on TV if I was at a hotel or something. But watching it from the beginning, you see a greater context of these characters' relationships with each other, and how many of them certainly did grow over 12 years. So because of that, I also see why it's popular. I see why people like it. And I cannot end this video without bringing in the greatest thing that I got from binge watching The Big Bang Theory.